The merging of worlds unleashed a catastrophic era where dungeons manifested and monsters invaded humanity. Select humans awakened as players, gifted by the system to fight, yet some grew greedy and hoarded resources. Humanity's greed birthed the Abyss-rank dungeons, summoning the immortal Demon King, Aldslay, whose power eclipsed all. Led by the strongest player, Yahello, an elite raid team assembled to challenge the terrifying Demon King. The Immortal King's level remained an unfathomable mystery to the challengers. The command to slaughter rang out. He ordered total annihilation, sparing no one. He dismissed the challengers as weak trash, unworthy of his attention. He mocked the arrival of yet another fool seeking death. The Abyss boss proved that ordinary players were hopelessly outmatched. The hero proclaimed that the Demon King would face the judgment of justice. He spat on their self-righteous justice and told them to prepare for death. He viewed them as nothing more than refuse. The hero begged him to stop, questioning his disregard for his own people's lives. The raiders revealed they held his people captive. They threatened to massacre the captives if he did not surrender. He realized their so-called justice relied on using his family as leverage. The raider justified the tactic as a valid dungeon strategy, declaring victory through ruthlessness. He cursed their despicable nature before realizing they were about to strike. He decided to drag them all down into death with him. The raid succeeded, marking the end of the Demon King Aldslay. It seemed as though the nightmare had finally concluded. However, the legend of Aldslay was far from over. 10 years later, adventurers entered the Burial Area dungeon. The leader ordered the team to maintain formation and stay together. Success was mandatory. They had to clear the dungeon at all costs. A terrifying suture monster emerged, prompting immediate warnings. The team scrambled to dodge and put distance between themselves and the beast. Trapped at the entrance with mounting casualties, they realized a head-on clash was unavoidable. The leader ordered the weaker players to act as bait to lure the monsters away. The porters protested, claiming they were low-level gatherers with no combat ability. The leader silenced them, revealing they were brought solely as cannon fodder, threatening death to deserters. Realizing they were bait, one porter saw a risky opportunity to level up. Killing an elite monster offered massive rewards, but he needed a strategy to defeat it. The leader calculated that sacrificing the weaklings preserved the main team's strength. He planned to steal the final blow to harvest the bulk of the experience. Desperate to return to Xiao Xiao, he recalled the monster's weak point from a book, The Sutured Seams. He spotted the vulnerability he had been looking for. He mentally promised his sister he would survive the encounter. The monster raged at the nuisance blocking its view and struck out. He refused to accept death, clinging to his promise. His final thoughts were of his sister waiting for his return. Confusion erupted as the dust settled. The onlookers struggled to understand the sudden turn of events. They were shocked that the weak trash player survived the attack. The Demon King lamented the decade it took to recover his soul and possess a human body. He noted the frailty of his new vessel but accepted it was better than nothing. The system announced the defeat of the monster and the experience gained. He scoffed that the creature rushed him only to become experience points. The observers were stunned that a level 3 player instantly killed the beast. The leader accused him of stealing the kill after the monster was weakened, enraged by the lost experience. He noticed a new notification flashing from the system. Leveling up to 5, he questioned if the number correlated with strength. He realized this was the player system and decided it required further investigation. Identifying as a boss unlocked special authority, validating his 10-year wait. He prepared to unlock his powers, announcing his return to the world. Despite the system, his stats remained stagnant, and he suffered negative effects. Unable to gain EXP from monsters, he realized he needed conquer points to unlock skills. With only conquerors I unlocked to C levels, he knew he had to grind for points. He initially planned to kill the players but realized his current body was too weak. The leader, a level 20 ranger named Yahello, was the one who killed the body's original owner. He offered a potion feigning subservience, silently vowing to kill her later. She wondered if he hid his strength but decided to keep him alive for the boss raid. Suddenly, a mysterious blue flame erupted. He recognized the flame as the signature of the dungeon's true lord. The leader rallied the team, claiming cooperation would ensure victory. One player refused to die for nothing and attempted to flee. The leader cursed the deserter, promising retribution after the boss fell. Sensing a shift in the battle, he decided it was time to intervene. The team charged, aiming for the monster's exposed core. Failing in close combat, they switched to long-range attacks. To their horror, the boss proved immune to ranged attacks as well. With the team unable to approach, he knew his moment had arrived. He mocked the fool rushing to his death, warning of the impending fire. The others were baffled as to why he remained unharmed. He explained that the exposed core was a trap they had fallen into from the start. He detailed how the first stage's flame buff detonated during the second stage. The key was avoiding the flame buff initially to survive the second stage. With that knowledge, the monster became an easy target. He recalled killing such low-level creatures in his youth. Unimpressed, it was a boss. Finally satiated, he prepared to unlock a new ability. The system offered him the authority to bind the current dungeon. He was surprised by the wealth of hidden abilities the binding provided. He mocked the slain players for their naivety in challenging him. With the boss dead, the leader ordered the opening of the hidden dungeon using the players. She commanded them to be used as sacrificial offerings. A player begged for mercy, but she explained that deaths were required to open the gate. She worried about failing her lord's mission, fearing the sacrifices were insufficient. The system rewarded him with experience for killing a player. He finally understood why monsters yielded him no experience. As a boss entity, he only leveled by killing players, and he scanned his opponent. She was shocked to find he was merely a level 5 warrior. She rallied her team to crush the arrogant low-level warrior. He unleashed a lightning attack that paralyzed his enemies. They were confused how a warrior could wield such potent magic. He caught their attack with a single hand, defying logic. Another player fell, granting him more experience. They speculated he might be a rare magic warrior class. He reveled in their fear and decided to test his new powers. The survivors tried to coordinate their attacks to survive. Binding the dungeon had granted him immense passive buffs. He could now spend points to learn the unique skills of dungeon monsters. He calculated his remaining points after unlocking the lightning curse. Facing a numbers disadvantage, he needed to spend his last points wisely. He found the perfect skill worth 50 points. The leader screamed for him to die. He summoned and controlled the dungeon's monsters, shocking the raiders. They cursed his inexplicably overpowered abilities. The leader pulled out a special single-use item. She had saved the historical rank item for the hidden boss. He noticed the strange sound emitting from the flute. She boasted that the item was a gift from her clan leader. She claimed his summoned monsters were nothing against her beast army. He asked if she thought his control was limited to weaklings. He warned her that she was severely underestimating him. To her horror, he summoned the Bone Demon Dragon boss itself. She warned him that killing her would bring his own death. He amusedly asked to hear her reasoning. She revealed she worked for Lord Stockton, a level 40 powerhouse. He dismissed the threat, promising to kill the Lord if he interfered. She bragged about Stockton's connections to the killers of Lord Louis. He noted her lack of intelligence and bid her farewell. She gasped as the final blow descended. Killing high-level players granted massive EXP and healed his wounds. He turned his attention to a new development. He approached the hidden dungeon gate, sensing the treasures within. He declared himself the most dangerous thing there, claiming all loot. He realized his current gear was woefully inadequate. He decided to upgrade his gear before entering. He began looting the fallen players. He ordered his minions to strip the bodies clean. He appreciated the system allowing him to loot without suspicion. The inventory system proved incredibly convenient for storage. Fully prepared, he stepped into the hidden dungeon. The castle's architecture felt strangely familiar to him. He recalled his own territory being turned into a dungeon long ago. He suspected the monsters originated from his former world. Outside his binding area, his summoning skills were restricted. Even the gatekeeper monster was 30 levels above him. He pondered the significance of the setup. He dismissed the potential traps, fearless as always. His goal remained to clear the dungeon and seize the equipment. He remained wary of what lay beyond the level 40 guard. The monsters declared the humans were merely food. He recognized the monsters as members of the undying race. He smirked, noting he was a specialist in killing their kind. His conqueror points steadily increased with each kill. He was disappointed to find only low-level monsters inside. A voice accused him of using filthy blood to break a lord's seal. He decided to test the power gap between himself and the demon. The demon mocked his feeble attempt to inflict harm. He admitted the strength difference was still vast. The demon relished the taste of blood after centuries of sealing. She demanded he pay the price for his crimes. She suddenly paused, recognizing something familiar. Through the blood, she accessed his memories and realized his identity. She identified him as Lord Aldslay. She realized he was the one who released her. He found her just as annoying and spoiled as he remembered. He recalled how she had stalked him 200 years ago. He couldn't kill her due to his alliance with her clan chief. He explained their bet, a century of sealing in exchange for marriage. He revealed he created this place, explaining why the guards obeyed him. He admitted he intended to keep her sealed unless absolutely necessary. She recoiled, overwhelmed by the revelation. He noted that since she drank his blood, she knew his situation. She furiously vowed revenge on the humans who killed him. He asked if she also remembered he sealed her on purpose. She confirmed she knew everything. She accepted his nature, while he found her difficult to manage. The system notified him of unlocking the blood race boss branch. He realized the venom made him a vampire, an upgrade from being human. She pledged to help him slaughter his enemies. He acknowledged that despite her personality, she was a useful asset. He asked if she had any high-tier equipment stashed away. She remembered something and asked him to wait. She rushed off to retrieve the item. She presented her dowry, a legendary item from the vampire founder. He questioned her forward thinking but eyed the equipment. The blood demon suit offered massive stat boosts and required blood bindings. He was thrilled to find it was upgradable with an invincibility skill. To her eyes, it looked like normal clothes, confusing her. He realized the player system allowed him to see its true attributes. He marveled at the epic rank gear, far superior to his old equipment. He also secured a powerful level 40 subordinate. It was time to leave the dungeon and enter the human world. Despite the gains, he resolved to remain cautious and hide his identity. She let out a sudden yelp. He realized he had forgotten a crucial detail. He had placed a barrier preventing her escape. The key, his former weapon, was lost to the player who killed him. He apologized, leaving her trapped until he could find the key. She admired his evil nature even as he left. She vowed to wait, though he thought it better she stayed put. The scene brought back memories of his rule. It mirrored the days when he commanded the demon race. He pondered if he possessed a player class alongside his warrior status. He confirmed his class was warrior, realizing he could use it to mask his true powers. He disguised his armor as normal clothes to avoid suspicion. He declared his arrival in the player's world, seeking revenge. He cursed the dungeon's level limit but was glad to have retrieved the gear. Observers noticed someone emerging from the gate. He ordered the system to seal the dungeon. He prepared to act the part of a survivor. The crowd buzzed with news that only one player survived. Merchants immediately swarmed him, offering to buy his loot. The guild members demanded to know where their team was. They aggressively asked if he took the equipment. He lied, claiming everyone else died fighting while he hid. The guild member accused him of feigning ignorance. He realized who they were. He asked if they were the ones who ordered the slaughter. The thug attacked him. Stoker, the guild president, intervened and apologized for his man's behavior. He ordered his men to retreat. His subordinate questioned letting the suspicious kid go. Stoker explained that they couldn't act with so many witnesses. The presence of the association's GM made violence impossible. The subordinate insisted on revenge. Stoker ordered a background check on the boy. He emphasized that any move made must be fatal and untraceable. He suspected the boy was more than he appeared. He sensed the boy's hidden malice and planned to eliminate him later. The GM introduced himself to Zhou Qing. He requested a level test to update the registration. Zhou Qing worried the test might reveal his boss status. He noted the GM was level 45, stronger than the previous thugs. The test showed him as a level 10 warrior, impressing the GM. He internally laughed that he had actually killed everyone inside. The GM chuckled at his own thoughts. He asked what would happen if the rumors of slaughter were true. The GM explained they didn't police dungeon PKs, doubting a single player could kill so many. He handed over the new ID card, granting access to more missions. Zhou Qing was pleased that dungeons were lawless zones. He focused on fulfilling the original body owner's final wish. He recalled the memories of the sister, Zhou Xiaoxiao, and their hard life. He adopted the sister as his own, vowing to protect her. He arrived to find his sister struggling against debt collectors. She insisted her brother would return and pay the debt. The thug mocked her faith in a weak level 5 warrior. He claimed survival was impossible and seized the house. A crowd gathered. Xiao Xiao spotted him. He began counting the enemies. The thug told him to leave, confused by the counting. He revealed he was counting his experience points. The thugs were terrified. They were shocked by his overwhelming strength. The thug begged for mercy. He asked Xiao Xiao if he should kill them, but she pleaded for mercy. The thug thanked her profusely. She lectured them to be good people from now on. He decided to spare them to avoid trouble and use their connections. He asked about the black market, and the thug eagerly offered help. He ordered the thug to sell the dungeon loot. He silenced the thug's curiosity with a threat. The thug was terrified of him. He promised fair payment and debt clearance. The thug realized the potential profit and asked to work for a commission. He agreed but swore the thug to secrecy regarding the source. The thug celebrated his new partnership. The thug left to sell the goods. He watched them go. Xiao Xiao scolded him for making her worry. He apologized for his tardiness. He assured her that as long as he lived, no one would ever bully her again. He cherished the long-lost warmth of family, vowing to protect his sister while wondering if any of his past kin survived. He decided the moment had come to act. He initiated the next phase of his scheme. He designated the location for the trap. If successful, he anticipated massive gains from the grind. The skill unlocked a dungeon gate, a lure for greedy players seeking rare resources. His monsters would grow stronger by slaughtering intruders, allowing him to passively harvest experience points. He felt no guilt, reasoning that their own greed would lead them to their demise. He generously added a revival mechanic to farm them repeatedly, setting the trap as the Demon King's castle. Sensing the association's approach, he prepared to leave and cook breakfast for his sister. He called Xiao Xiao to the table, announcing the meal was ready. She stared at the dish in horror, accusing him of trying to poison her. She questioned his declining culinary skills, jokingly noting he seemed like a stranger. His subordinate arrived, reporting that he had liquidated the assets and brought the cash. The funds were secured on a card with a password praising his handsomeness, totaling 2 million. He noted the massive sum, confident it would suffice for their needs. He assigned a new task, entrusting Xiao Zhao's safety to him while he went raiding. The subordinate accepted eagerly, declaring himself the family's dedicated guardian. He left instructions for breakfast, trusting the man's greed to keep him loyal. Xiao Xiao pleaded with him not to leave. He urged her to behave, promising to return safely after handling urgent business. He swore he would return unharmed, reminding her he never lied. He said his goodbyes, confident in her obedience. He set off to farm points and observe the fools attempting to raid his dungeon. He lamented failing due to a trivial technicality. No one wanted to group with him, preventing entry due to party size restrictions. Other players mocked his low level, dismissing him as dead weight. One team was willing to take a low-level player but desperately needed support roles. A subordinate pointed out a female warrior looking for a group. The leader agreed, admitting a preference for carrying female players. He smirked, grateful for the entry but secretly hoping for their destruction. They approached him, offering a spot in the squad. They explained they were short one member for the raid. He feigned gratitude while they noted their need for a frontline tank. The team moved out to start the mission. The leader confirmed his spies had already infiltrated the target team. The plan was to murder the target and loot his inventory for the specific item. They rejoiced at the lower difficulty and extra life, confident of success. The leader suspected the target had hidden motives for entering a low-level area. He realized their team had likely been infiltrated. The mission details appeared, identifying the target zone and objective. Recognizing the location, he finally understood the enemy's goal. The leader ordered everyone to remain vigilant against ambushes. They established a defensive formation to shield the fragile backline. He pretended to be a scared newbie, though he had no intention of actually helping. A teammate called out to him urgently. He directed them to a monster cluster, ostensibly to grind but actually to divert them. He decided to conceal his true strength, relying only on basic warrior abilities. He activated a standard shout skill to draw aggro. A mage accidentally hit him, feigning an apology. He brushed it off, warning them to watch their aim. The healer stepped in to restore the team's health. He realized the friendly fire was intentional, suspecting an assassination attempt. The spy noted his resilience, hoping he wasn't allied with their enemy. To be safe, he quietly prepared his full arsenal of skills. Despite the numbers, they pushed forward to clear the dungeon quickly. They arrived at the entrance to the boss chamber. He scoffed at the team's ignorance of the true danger. A teammate sensed something was wrong with the atmosphere. The leader shouted for everyone to raise their defenses. The command was given to engage the enemy. He acted shocked when his teammates suddenly turned their weapons on him. They silenced him, threatening death if he resisted. He sighed, unimpressed by their unoriginal betrayal tactics. The dungeon boss, a massive aquatic beast, revealed itself. The team finally dropped their act. He noted that their murderous intentions were now undeniable. They watched him fall, expecting the monster to devour him. He mocked their arrogance, pointing out they had chosen the wrong victim. He declared that it was now their time to die. The masterminds questioned if their hired assassin could finish the job. The leader shuddered, admitting fear of the assassin's power. They warned not to underestimate the target's peculiar energy. They dismissed him as weak fodder for the elite killer. They were confused when the warrior suddenly cast a spell. He laughed at their feeble attempt to ambush him. He prioritized eliminating the high-damage mage first. He called them pathetic, immediately moving to the next target. They were shocked that their status effects failed to stop him. They panicked as he continued his assault despite his injuries. He tracked the invisible assassin, noting that sound betrayed their location. He realized the mage was making a desperate move. He saw they were willing to blow themselves up to kill him. He cursed their insanity for trying a suicide attack. He calmly revealed he had a hidden countermeasure prepared. He threatened the survivor, demanding honesty upon pain of torture. The captive defied him, claiming only they could find the treasure. He decided to play along, asking what the object was. The captive mentioned a legendary blade. The survivor revealed it was the twin evil blades, hidden years ago. He demanded the exact location immediately. He wondered about the item's market value. The captive explained it was key to awakening and offered a boon in exchange. He feigned ignorance about the awakening mechanic. The captive explained that level 80 awakening was a strict but dreamlike achievement for players. They mentioned the elite 7 heroes who had achieved this state. The captive boasted of being on the verge of that power. He realized his past killers were awakened and noted he could now upgrade too. He ordered the captive to lead the way to the blades. He pressed for speed, asking where the blades were stashed. The guide located the spot, pointing it out. The guide noted the area remained untouched by time. The legendary weapons were revealed, wrapped in dark fabric. He felt a sudden pang of unease, sensing an oversight. Facing a tough foe, he decided to unleash his maxed-out skills. He reacted to the enemy's blinding speed. He cursed, realizing the difference in power was substantial. His attacks failed to penetrate the enemy's heavy armor. He gambled everything on his final remaining ability. He activated the Dragon T-Link technique. He unleashed the Bone Demon Flame. He watched, hoping his ultimate attack was enough to finish the fight. He regretted his carelessness, wondering if this was his end. Meanwhile, events unfolded in the Burial Area dungeon. Players cheered, thinking victory was near as the boss shifted phases. He planned to use their deaths to trigger the hidden dungeon. Confusion erupted as something unexpected occurred. Screams filled the air. The system logged a kill, awarding him experience. Another player fell, granting more experience. The system announced he had reached level 15. He chuckled at leveling up while AFK, his wounds healing automatically. Fully restored, he declared himself ready for round 2. He unleashed a dark flash attack. He noted the enemy's resilience made it a difficult fight. The system warned that the boss had doubled its stats in a rage state. He gritted his teeth, acknowledging the boss's insane durability. He weakened the boss and offered the final blow to his companion. He wondered if the companion had fought so hard just to shield him. He thanked his luck, accepting the outcome. The victory unlocked a Demon King mission and yielded rare scales. He puzzled over the new mission objective. He decided to investigate the rewards after leaving. He asked why she was looking at him so intensely. She thanked him for the awakening help, though he found her odd. He looted the room, thrilled by the massive financial haul. She gave him a badge, promising Miyamoto family aid if he showed it. He examined the badge, impressed by its implied power. She asked him to keep her identity a secret. Stockton's men were shocked to see him emerge alive. He recognized one of the men as an enemy lackey. He told the lackey to deliver a warning. He vowed to hunt them all down. The lackey trembled, overwhelmed by terror. He felt a fear surpassing even what he felt for his boss. He wondered if the man before him was human or monster. He mentally begged for mercy. The survivors admitted the dungeon was impossible to raid. They tried to reassure themselves that at least the target was dead. Stockton answered the phone. The lackey reported the failure and the target's survival. Stockton roared in disbelief. The lackey quit on the spot, his instincts screaming to flee. Stockton recalled the intel about a sister. He ordered her immediate capture to use as leverage. He realized he needed to strike back before the enemy retaliated. He wondered if his sister was missing him. His subordinate shouted his name in distress. The kidnappers confirmed his identity. He demanded to know his sister's location. The subordinate wept, confessing he was too weak to stop the kidnapping. The goons told him to follow if he wanted to see her again. He coldly stated he didn't need an escort. The goon was confused by his tone. He threatened to kill everyone except one guide. The subordinate continued to blame himself for the failure. He reassured the man, appreciating his loyalty despite the loss. He prepared to leave, giving the subordinate a new order. The guards recognized him as the previous target. He confronted them, demanding his sister's whereabouts. They demanded the item in exchange for their lives. He declared they had gone too far and refused to bargain. They laughed, noting the isolated spot made murder easy. He smiled, pleased that the lack of witnesses meant free experience. The leader ordered the charge, promising rewards from Stockton. He screamed for his sister's return. The enemy scoffed, unimpressed by his previous kills. They warned he was only alive because they needed the item. He beckoned them to stop talking and start dying. He promised their deaths. They mocked his arrogance, intending to show him the power gap. He activated a defensive skill. They were stunned when he blocked their attack. He called them weak, holstering his weapon to fight hand-to-hand. His passive skills negated their magic damage. The enemy leader couldn't believe a low-level warrior was winning. He realized the warrior had superhuman strength akin to a beast transformation. The enemy raged at the protagonist's calm, superior look. The momentum halted abruptly. The enemy was terrified by the impossible strength stat. The enemy felt forced to use his ultimate move. The enemy buffed himself with primitive powers. He attacked, boasting of superior speed. He pointed out the setting sun, sealing the enemy's fate. His vampire stats activated, doubling his power at night. He signaled the end of the fight. The enemy realized he was just fuel for the protagonist. He saw his sister in danger. The villain taunted him, threatening to drain the girl's life. He hesitated, fearing his magic would hit her. He worried his physical attacks weren't enough. A blast of energy erupted. The villain gloated, claiming he was in control. He reminded him the clock was ticking on her life. He goaded him to act. The villain urged him to sacrifice her to save himself. The villain was shocked by a sudden turn of events. He noticed an attack coming from elsewhere. The rescuer arrived just in time. He recognized Nana Miyamoto and wondered why she intervened. She assured him the attack missed his sister. She offered to assist in the kill. He declined, asking her to guard Xiao Xiao instead. He claimed the enemy's life as his own prize. She pledged her family's honor to protect the girl. The villain cursed his confidence. The villain claimed he had wasted his chance to survive. He merely wondered how much experience the kill would grant. He launched his shadow assault. The system issued a mission to kill the boss, the fallen apostle. He stood over the defeated foe, disappointed by their weakness. He gauged the opponent's combat ability, estimating them at level 25 and wondering if this mission was just a gift to help him earn rewards effortlessly. Sparks flew as energy crackled through the air. The enemy stared in disbelief, shouting in confusion as the target revived yet again right before his eyes. He steeled his resolve, declaring that no matter how many times the creature came back to life, the final result would remain unchanged. He cried out, terrified and confused about what kind of monstrosity he was actually facing. The endless battle grew frustrating, and he wondered if this challenging mission was actually designed just to get him killed. He panicked, screaming that the situation must be a bug since the monster seemed completely impossible to kill. Suddenly, he paused, realizing that since this place was a challenge dungeon, the rules of a dungeon applied here. An epiphany struck him as he finally understood the mechanics behind the situation. He realized he had been restricted by his own narrow mindset. He understood he had been trapped in a small room, but a true dungeon should not be limited to such a confined space. He deduced that the monster's main body had to be hiding somewhere else nearby. He finally located the target, cursing the annoying enemy as he prepared to strike. He dismissed the tricks the intruder used, taunting that they should have escaped when they had the chance, but since they returned to die, he would gladly grant that wish. He scoffed, dismissing the man as nothing more than trash. The enemy gasped in shock, completely blindsided by the sudden attack. He stared, trying to comprehend what he was seeing. Realizing the creature was a summon, he accused the intruder of being a summoner. He questioned how a summoner could possess such physical strength and powerful magic, eventually concluding that his opponent was a monster in human form. He warned the enemy to worry about their own safety first. He watched in horror as even more summoned monsters appeared on the battlefield. Enraged, he cursed at his opponent, demanding they act like a man and fight him one-on-one. He offered a sarcastic apology. He frankly admitted that he preferred to beat him down using superior numbers. The enemy gritted his teeth, disgusted by this type of fighting style. He tried to convince himself that their numbers meant nothing, no matter how many appeared. The summoner paused, signaling a shift in the battle. He asked if this new addition also counted as mere trash. The enemy panicked, wondering how much power this bastard was still hiding, and decided he needed to escape before it was too late. He called him a fool, lecturing that showing fear in the middle of a battle was a guaranteed death sentence. The enemy paused, confused as to why there was no system notification of his death. He gasped, noticing something strange happening. He cursed, realizing he had underestimated his opponent again and that the man intended to steal his body. The summoner admired the physique, declaring that the perfect body was now his property. He explained that he only needed to destroy the body's spirit-soul to become its new owner. He looked around the spirit-soul world and demanded the coward come out and face his death. The spirit weakly told him to prepare to die. He commanded the spirit to kneel. The spirit trembled in absolute terror, realizing this intruder was actually Aldslay, and couldn't believe he had just told such a being to die. He immediately groveled, claiming he wouldn't dare fight and was prepared to become his servant, or even his dog. He coldly replied that the man wasn't even fit to be his dog. The system confirmed the kill and EXP gain, while he mocked the fool for trying to destroy a soul that was already vastly superior. The system announced that his level had increased to 18. He winced at the sudden pain, wondering if the enemy hadn't fully died despite everything. A notification appeared stating that killing a vampire bloodline player had triggered an evolution in his own vampire bloodline. He paused, surprised by the sudden bloodline evolution. Several new skills unlocked, including Dark Assault, Blood Burst, Vampire Mark, and Blood Frenzy. He noted the skill enhancements and removed negative effects, realizing he had acquired a higher-rank vampire bloodline that allowed him to sense blood flow. He realized there were additional rewards on top of the skills. His equipment leveled up as well, granting him the ability to control corpses. He claimed Stockton's sword, deciding it was now his property. He examined the historical rank weapon, musing that he was getting better at robbing people after killing them. He sensed people rushing toward his location. Noting their high speed, he worried they might be game masters and decided to leave immediately. A subordinate reported to the leader that the dead bodies belonged to the Vampire Guild, identifying Stockton as one of them. The leader was shocked to find a member of the Wolf Soul tribe involved in this mess. He ordered them to inform the general manager, admitting he had a very bad feeling about the situation. He knew that since someone dared to touch a Wolf Soul tribe member, that specific bastard would definitely make a move. He identified the Awakener and Wolf Soul tribe leader as Beast God Matt. Matt laughed callously at the news of his cousin Stockton's death, admitting he always found him annoying and didn't care if he died. However, he declared that touching his people was a direct challenge to him, and he demanded to know who did it so he could see them. His subordinate assured him that people would handle the killer naturally, as Matt would never let someone off for killing a tribe member. The scene shifted as a seller asked if the buyer was certain they wanted to sell the weapon. The seller admitted they wanted to get rid of the useless weapon, as years of research failed to unlock it since it only recognized one owner. The observer marveled at what a perfect weapon it was. He lamented that it was such a pity no one was able to use it. He critiqued the Miyamoto family mansion, noting that while big, it still lacked the grandeur of his own palace. The housekeeper, Uncle Lu, greeted Mr. Zhou Qing, informing him that the miss had been waiting. He agreed to follow but internally wondered why a housekeeper needed to be level 50 with a deacon profession. Uncle Lu mentioned he heard Zhou Qing help the miss with her awakening mission and insisted there was no need to be humble. He explained the importance of the matter, mentioning the previous family head was killed by Aldslay, causing the hero to realize he was the one who killed her father. Uncle Lu recounted that although the raid on Aldslay was successful, the casualties were immense, leaving only 5 survivors. He found the story strange, remembering there were many survivors before he died, and refused to take the blame for deaths that happened after his demise. Uncle Lu hinted that the miss was a miserable person, having raised her since she was young. He warned that he would not forgive anyone who harbored evil intentions toward the miss. The hero sensed a powerful aura of killing intent coming from the old man. He internally joked about feeling like a husband meeting the in-laws, assuring himself he wasn't after her body. A young girl cried out for her big brother. She expressed her relief, saying she had been very worried about him. He comforted her, promising that the bad people were chased away and would never bully her again. He told her he had important matters to discuss with the sister who saved him and would join her later. The miss observed that he seemed to care for his little sister very much. He confirmed it instantly, vowing to kill anyone who dared to bully her. She approved of his attitude, thinking she might actually get along with him. Uncle Lu announced their arrival, stating the miss was waiting inside. He grew paranoid about the private meeting, wondering if his identity as Aldslay had been exposed by the housekeeper's story. He felt an awkward atmosphere, wondering why it felt like a date. He noticed her red face and panicked, wondering if she was angry and had figured out his secret. She explained she wanted to talk alone because she was curious how he managed to kill a level 40 player. He dodged the question, simply stating that he had his own methods. She warned him that the people he killed had strong backgrounds, and he might have provoked dangerous enemies, causing him to worry he upset her. She explained that Stockton was Lu Yi's cousin and an awakener who joined the Aldslay raid. She noted Lu Yi was cold-blooded and wouldn't care, but warned that the other person involved was the real worry. While he felt confident, he left no traces. She clarified that if the Wolf Soul Tribe's leader got involved, he could definitely be found. He mocked the name Wolf Soul Tribe, wondering if they were dog meat dealers, while she explained they were one of the 7 great guilds. She revealed their leader, Matt, was an awakener with the beast god profession. She explained Matt had a sharp sense of smell that could deduce anything that happened in a location within a month. He internally mocked the ability, wondering if the guy would dare smell his farts. A servant burst in, calling out to the miss in a rush. The servant announced news regarding Aldslay. The hero was startled, thinking the news was about him. The servant revealed that Aldslay's weapon was being auctioned. He questioned the accuracy of the information, believing the weapon was in Lu Yi's hands. The servant confirmed it was accurate, stating the auction would happen in 1 month on the 10th anniversary of Aldslay's death. He was annoyed that they were holding a ceremony for his death 10 years later. The servant added that the weapon devoured anyone who tried to use it, suggesting only the original owner could wield it. He smirked, knowing he soul-bound the weapon long ago, while the miss noticed his sudden smile. He realized he only had 1 month left and needed to quickly change his profession by any means necessary. He vowed to reclaim what rightfully belonged to him. A girl screamed for help while a villain taunted her to scream louder for his excitement. He sighed, annoyed that this world seemed to have bastards everywhere he went. The villain demanded to know who he was and told him to get lost. He sized up the level 25 Berserk warrior, calculating the experience points he would gain. The villain arrogantly threatened to kill him, slice him into mincemeat, and feed him to the pigs. He cut the threats short, telling the man to shut up and die. The system confirmed the player kill and the experience gained. He noted he was close to level 20 and immediately searched for the next target. The system spammed notifications of multiple kills and experience gains. The system announced he reached level 20 and was eligible for a profession change. He was pleased that free experience kept coming from his dungeon's difficulty, allowing him to return to Xiao Xiao. Suddenly, a system notification declared his bound dungeon had been raided and was entering a 7-day repair mode. He raged as his dungeon skills locked, unable to believe his dungeon had been successfully raided. He demanded to know which bastard was responsible for this. The scene shifted to the burial area dungeon. A team member asked why the strong leader brought them along if he could solo the dungeon. The leader, Long Yanwu, explained he needed witnesses for his achievements. The team member realized the guy just wanted to show off. Long Yanwu checked his status, seeing he was level 20 and ready to start the Knight profession change mission. He marveled at the mention of a Necromancer Knight, a legendary profession he had only ever read about in ancient texts during his youth. Believing the class to be extinct in his own realm, he never imagined he would stumble upon its existence within the human world. Driven by ambition, he resolved to seize this rare chance and claim the powers of the Necromancer Knight for himself. He noticed the association had moved with incredible speed to seal the area and decided to investigate the situation immediately. Irritated by the interference, He vowed to slaughter anyone in his way if they dared to stall his progression toward the new class. The crowd erupted in protest, demanding to know why they were being denied entry despite having the right to change professions. The gatekeeper issued a cold challenge, stating that only those strong enough to defeat him would earn the right to enter the dungeon. He observed the gathered players, noting that those who hadn't yet advanced their classes stood no chance against such an opponent. He identified the challenger as a formidable level 35 paladin. One player stepped forward in a rage, dismissing the authority of the higher-level guard and preparing for a fight. The guard remained unfazed, inviting the next person to try their luck after easily dismissing the previous attempt. Stepping forward, he expressed a calm curiosity about whether he possessed the strength required to pass the test. A bystander mocked him, calling him low-level trash and ordering him to clear the path. The insults grew harsher as they told him to stop embarrassing himself and return to the safety of his home. His tone turned deadly as he questioned if the man was actively seeking his own demise. Upon realizing the newcomer belonged to the prestigious IGA guild, the guard immediately stepped aside and granted him entry. The crowd muttered in frustration, accusing the association of being cowards who only bullied common players while favoring the elite. He realized the association's claims of protection were a lie designed to monopolize the legendary profession for their own selfish interests. A high-ranking player sneered at him, telling him to stop dreaming about a legendary class that was far beyond his reach. A spoiled youth cried out to his guardian, demanding that the man who struck him be crippled as punishment. The elder warned the youth that he had provoked the wrong person and would have to face the consequences of his own arrogance. A voice cut through the tension, asking if they truly intended to lay a hand on a member of the influential Miyamoto family. Surprise spread through the crowd as they recognized the speaker as Liu Shangchan, the loyal butler of the Miyamoto house. Stories were whispered of how this man once protected a young girl by single-handedly slaughtering over 100 players in a dungeon. Deciding it wasn't worth the risk, the aggressors chose to back down out of respect for the Miyamoto family's reputation. Despite backing away, the antagonist vowed to make him suffer a slow and agonizing death once they were inside the dungeon. The butler explained that his mistress sent him to assist, but the protagonist politely declined the help. He remained firm in his decision to handle the trial using his own strength and traditional methods. The guard laughed at the perceived power gap, insisting that the challenge was impossible for someone of his standing. He told the guard to be quiet, asserting that the outcome wouldn't be known until they actually clashed. Losing his patience, the opponent decided to stop holding back and teach him a final, painful lesson. After easily weathering the assault, he mocked the guard's weakness and prepared to launch his own counterattack. Panic set in for the guard as he realized he was completely trapped by a strength he couldn't hope to match. In a desperate move, the paladin activated his ultimate defensive barrier to stave off the coming blow. Terrified and broken, the once proud guard threw down his weapons and begged for mercy. With the fight over, he calmly asked if there were any further objections to him entering the area. The defeated guard could only whisper his compliance. He walked past, unimpressed by the fact that even the gatekeeper was so easily overcome. He looked around, noting that a massive crowd had gathered, all driven by the desire to claim the new profession. He scanned a level 23 warrior named Ma Tengyun. He noted a level 21 knight named Dio among the crowd. A level 20 warrior named Juzhou was also present in the gathering. He concluded that the majority of the players were lower-level warriors and knights seeking their first major class advancement. He also spotted several high-level players, assuming they were there to act as guides or mercenaries for the weaker groups. A spectator complimented him on his skill, noting how impressive it was for a level 20 warrior to crush a level 35 opponent. The observer remarked that it was a surprise to find such incredible talent within the Miyamoto family outside of Nana herself. He recognized a familiar face, realizing this individual shared his rare ability to see the hidden stats of others. A man introduced himself as Li Jiyu, the prominent leader of the Death Spirit Guild. Li Jiyu turned to his companion, Yen Wu, noting that the protagonist's combat prowess was on par with his own. A sense of unease washed over him as he detected the unmistakable and dark aura of the demon race. Annoyance flared within one of the onlookers, frustrated that his own presence was being overshadowed by the newcomer. He was struck with shock upon seeing Air, stunned to find that she was still among the living. He questioned why she harbored such intense hostility toward him, wondering if there was a personal grudge he didn't know about. She countered that anyone sensitive to the aura of the death spirit would naturally be on high alert in his presence. The guild leader offered hollow congratulations to Uncle Lu regarding Nana's awakening and her father's legacy in heaven. Confused, he asked how the former head of the Miyamoto family could have been killed by a foe like Aldslay. The man recounted a tragic tale of sacrifice, claiming Miyamoto died of exhaustion while distracting a monster so others could escape. He immediately sensed the deception, realizing the man was spinning a web of lies to cover up the dark truth. Li Jiyu introduced Long Yen Wu as a member of his guild, suggesting they look out for one another during the trial. They exchanged a tense greeting, acknowledging the competitive nature of the challenge ahead. The guild leader took his leave, inviting the protagonist to visit their headquarters in the future. He accepted the invitation with a grim internal promise that his eventual visit would be for the purpose of assassination. Hope sparked within him as he realized a survivor of his race might hold the answers to what happened after his supposed death. Uncle Lu asked if there was a specific reason for the friction between him and the death spirit leader. The elder warned him to be cautious, explaining that offending a genius who awakened at 18 was a dangerous move. He brushed off the concern, coolly stating that he wouldn't just offend the man. He would eventually end his life. An official announcement was made, telling all those unable to meet the dungeon's entry requirements to disperse. He was warned that the dungeon was a high-stakes battlefield where players would stop at nothing to claim the single profession slot. He remained confident, telling the elder that it was the other players who should be afraid of him. Before the descent began, he shared crucial details regarding the nature of the upcoming trial. He explained that the dungeon was specifically designed for the Necromancer Knight class, restricting entry to only knights and warriors. He highlighted a strange and dangerous rule. The dungeon had no limit on the number of players who could challenge it at once. The news of the unlimited capacity sent waves of terror through the weaker players, causing many to reconsider. He questioned why the lack of a capacity limit was seen as such a significant problem. It was explained that no limit usually indicated an extreme level of difficulty, often requiring massive raids to survive. He recalled that such a rare and deadly condition had only been documented once before in history. The elder confirmed it was the same conditions found in the Demon King's dungeon, a place so lethal it required an army to conquer. Growing impatient with the talk, he asked if he was finally cleared to enter the portal. The guard was surprised to see him heading in alone, asking if he really intended to face the trial without a team. He dismissed the idea of allies, viewing them as nothing more than burdens that would only slow him down. His arrogance drew the ire of others, who felt insulted by his belief that he was superior to everyone else. An onlooker noted that such reckless behavior would likely make him a target for every other player inside. He reflected on how greed would inevitably tear any team apart, as there was only one profession change available for the taking. Convinced that everyone inside was an enemy, he entered the dungeon alone, ready to face the world on his own. Upon passing through the gate, he found himself instantly warped to a random location deep within the dungeon. He realized the teleportation was scattered, meaning the other challengers would be spread across the vast area. A system alert rang out, stating that the exit would only open once the Purgatory Lord had been slain. He noted the requirement to kill the boss but realized the system had given him no clues on how to actually trigger the class change. His priority shifted to finding Air, sensing that she was the key to his past, while remaining wary of the threats in the shadows. In Ingwen, he received a notification that his first kill had earned him 50 Conqueror points. He scoffed at a monster's attempt to take him down with a self-destruct attack, unimpressed by the simple tactic. Finding the initial damage easy to manage, he began to feel that the dungeon's reputation for difficulty might be exaggerated. He noticed he had drawn the attention of a group of enemies and looked forward to the coming excitement. He grew bored, constantly finding the monsters he encountered to be far too weak to challenge him. He lamented the lack of a real fight. Despite accumulating points, he felt frustrated that his advanced skills remained locked behind unknown requirements. He finally detected the presence of other players nearby and decided to investigate their progress. A player in the distance desperately activated a holy protection skill to ward off an attack. The group attempted to restrain their target using a powerful light-based imprisonment spell. They urged one another to strike while the creature was pinned down, hoping to end the fight quickly. He observed from the shadows, noting the impressive quality of the magical items the guild members were utilizing. Suddenly, a devastating dark blast ripped through the air, aimed not at the monster, but at the other players. Shocked and betrayed, one of the survivors demanded to know why their supposed ally was attacking them. The traitor laughed, explaining that he never cared about teamwork and was simply using them to eliminate his competition. One victim cursed the traitor, lamenting their separation from their guardian and hoping their armor would withstand the next hit. An intruder stepped into the light, praising the quality of the traitor's gear while making his presence known. The traitor turned in shock, unable to identify the newcomer immediately. He was baffled by how the stranger had managed to sneak up on them without being detected. The protagonist offered a mocking reminder of their previous encounter, suggesting a second physical lesson might aid his memory. Recognition hit the traitor, who snarled that the protagonist had walked straight into a death trap. He matter-of-factly stated that he wanted the items in the traitor's possession and intended to kill him to get them. The traitor grinned, glad that his target had saved him the trouble of a search by delivering himself for execution. He mocked the traitor's bravado, asking if those were his final words before his inevitable failure. Fueled by rage, the traitor prepared to unleash his most powerful card-based skill to end the confrontation. He summoned a shadow assassin, ordering it to cripple the protagonist so he could enjoy a slow, torturous execution. He laughed maniacally, convinced that the summoned shadow would make short work of his enemy. The protagonist remained unimpressed, swatting away the summon and calling the attack pathetic. Shaken but desperate, the traitor claimed he had only used a fraction of his power and promised a nightmare was coming. He dared the traitor to do his best, warning him that his opportunities to survive were rapidly disappearing. The traitor unleashed a dark coffin spell in a final attempt to trap his opponent. Breaking through the magic with ease, he demanded a challenge that was actually worth his time. He retaliated with a swift darkness slash, cutting through the traitor's defenses. He mockingly asked if the traitor had even attempted to use a skill, so negligible was the impact. Driven to the brink of insanity by the humiliation, the traitor screamed in fury. He threw everything he had left into a series of demonic shadow needles and visual illusions. He dismissed the attacks as a waste of good skills, noting that the traitor's low stats made the powerful magic useless. The traitor couldn't comprehend how another unevolved player could possess such overwhelming, godlike strength. He looked down on his foe, stating that comparing their power was an insult because the traitor was nothing but garbage. He branded his enemy with a vampire mark, sealing his fate. The traitor watched in horror as his high-ranking armor shattered from a single blow, unable to believe his eyes. Down to his last two cards, the traitor decided to sacrifice one to escape, hoping to save his trump card for the boss. He waited for the perfect moment to trigger his retreat. A sudden veil of darkness descended, catching the traitor off guard as he tried to flee. The traitor laughed as he activated a sensory deprivation skill, believing he had finally turned the tables. Confident that his foe was now blind and deaf, he boasted about how easy it would be to finish the job. A calm voice broke through the dark, asking if he was finished playing the part of the clown. He called the traitor an idiot for thinking such a simple trick would work on him. He reminded the traitor that once marked, there was no corner of the world where he could hide. He inspected the collection of cards, noting their unique ability to store powerful spells for single-use activation. His eyes widened as he discovered a particular card that stood out from the rest. He realized the traitor had been holding back a terrifying trump card that might have actually posed a threat. A young woman approached him, expressing her deep gratitude for saving her from the traitors. She promised to remember his kindness and vowed that her influential father would reward him handsomely. He debated internally whether to leave a witness alive or simply eliminate her to keep his actions a secret. A man rushed in, shouting at him to stay away from the young lady. The newcomer was stunned by the protagonist's level, finding it completely inconsistent with his combat power. She quickly intervened, explaining to her uncle that the man had just saved her life. The man, Uncle Zhang, looked skeptical as he questioned if this youth was truly their savior. She confirmed the story, detailing how he had rescued her from the malicious intentions of the other players. Realizing his mistake, the man lowered his weapon and apologized for his aggressive behavior. The girl introduced herself as Zhang Jingjing and her uncle as Zhang Shouyi, before asking for his name. He gave his name as Zhou Qing but pointed out the inconsistency in the uncle's skills compared to his warrior class. Impressed by his observation, the uncle revealed he was actually an astrologer capable of faking his class and stats on the panel. He marveled at the utility of such a skill while the girl invited him to join their group for the remainder of the trial. She insisted that with her uncle's hidden talents, clearing the dungeon would be far safer and easier for everyone. He thanked her for the kind offer but reiterated his preference for working alone before bidding them farewell. Though he acknowledged the chance to team up, he decided to remain cautious and stay on his own path. The uncle watched him walk away, noting that the youth was exceptionally cunning and wary for someone so young. Using his special abilities, the astrologer attempted to peek into the protagonist's future to determine if he was a threat. Frustrated by his inability to see anything, the man concluded that the youth was too dangerous to be left alive. He growled in annoyance as his attempts to gather information were thwarted. He encountered a level 35 member of the flaming demon spirit race named Clement. A nearby team panicked, realizing their group lacked the balance of healers and long-range attackers needed to survive. The difficulty of the local monsters began to weigh heavily on the spirits of the average players. He was relieved to finally find signs of life, even if they were accompanied by a massive, hostile beast. He joked with an air about the boredom of fighting weaklings before she told him to simply finish the monster off. He prepared to engage the beast, treating the potentially lethal encounter as nothing more than a simple warm-up. The onlookers watched in disbelief, certain that the man was insane for charging a monster so recklessly. They braced themselves for a gruesome sight, expecting him to be killed instantly by the creature's overwhelming power. He scoffed at their fear, knowing exactly who was about to be obliterated. With a single devastating strike, he proved that the monster was the one who was outmatched. The crowd was baffled as they watched him execute a high-level swordsman skill despite his apparent class. He turned to the group, asking if they had witnessed his prowess. Terror seized the witnesses as they realized they had seen too much and feared he would silence them forever. They begged for their lives, promising to take his secrets to the grave if he would only let them go. He looked at them with genuine confusion, wondering why they would want to keep his skills a secret. He encouraged them to spread the word of his heroic and handsome combat style to anyone who would listen. They stared at him, wondering if the incredibly powerful warrior was actually a complete idiot. He told the group to stay close and follow his lead so they wouldn't get lost in the dangerous terrain. He insisted that they stick around so they could witness more of his supposedly magnificent battle techniques. He finally tracked down his target, acknowledging that the individual was indeed as strong as rumored. He decided to follow the group stealthily, waiting for the perfect moment to strike the boss and claim the reward. He unleashed a devastating meteor impact on the enemies in his path. An observer noted that he was using a boxer's skill without any of the required gear, which was highly unusual. He realized the protagonist's versatile combat style was similar to his own, making him a dangerous variable. He took solace in the belief that the protagonist wasn't very bright, watching him pose and boast about his own coolness. He stood before a massive, ancient seal, wondering if this was the heart of the dungeon. He ignored the creature's cryptic warnings, stating that he had no interest in listening to anything but human speech. His excitement grew as he wondered if the ultimate treasure was hidden behind the barrier. The guardian warned that the seal had been protected for ages to keep a great master of hell from awakening. A level 25 undead creature known as a death spirit warhorse emerged from the shadows. The players recoiled in shock at the sudden appearance of the spectral beast. One attacker was stunned when his blow passed right through the creature without doing any damage. Another explained that the horse hadn't turned intangible, but had moved with such speed that the attack simply missed. A booming voice echoed through the chamber as a long-trapped entity celebrated its newfound freedom. The entity turned its cold, murderous gaze toward the humans, marking them for death. He identified the new threat as a level 60 demon race boss known as Hell's Master. The boss declared that they should prepare to accept the grim fate he was about to bestow upon them. He vowed to incinerate every shred of hope they carried as he prepared his first devastating attack. The players were horrified, unable to comprehend why such a powerful boss existed in this particular dungeon. Realizing he had underestimated the threat, he ordered everyone to prepare for the most difficult fight of their lives. He found the partnership between a human and a member of the demon race to be an incredibly strange sight. The boss roared, demanding that they all prepare to perish in the darkness of the chamber. He agreed that the entire situation was becoming increasingly bizarre. He demanded to know the identity of the person who had dared to intervene. A voice declared that no matter who they were, they had no right to harm those he held dear. Impressed that a mortal could block his spear, the boss demanded to know the name of the warrior standing before him. He was revealed to be the immortal demon king, Aldslay, who had possessed a human body. He comforted a crying girl, promising that he was there now and would protect her from all harm. She questioned how her father could be in a human body, but he told her they would discuss it after he dealt with their captor. She begged her father to stop, insisting that the person he was threatening was actually an ally. She explained that the man had protected her for years and that they were bound by a sacred contract. He grumbled at the boy calling him father but decided to focus his aggression on the boss for the time being. The boss mocked the sentimental reunion, suggesting they could continue their family time in the afterlife. He prepared a lethal strike, intent on sending the entire group to hell together. Dismissing the attacks as minor annoyances, the boss vowed to slaughter them all for their insolence. The players felt a crushing sense of despair as the massive level gap between them and the boss became apparent. He resolved to take the lead and strike the first blow against the towering monster. She cried out in fear for her father's safety. He called out her name, determined to shield her from the coming carnage. He unleashed a combination of a vampire mark and a powerful dragon slash against the boss. A holy light enveloped the area as a healing skill was activated to keep the group in the fight. He reassured the group that she could still be saved if they acted quickly. The boss laughed off the assault, mockingly comparing their best efforts to a pleasant massage. He felt a familiar, crushing sense of hopelessness as his attacks seemed to fail. Memories of his past failures fueled his rage as he prepared to unleash a forbidden power. He laughed at the boss's threats, claiming that nothing could be worse than what he had already endured. He activated a blood burst technique, sacrificing his own mana to dramatically boost his capabilities. The sudden increase in his speed caught everyone by surprise, leaving the boss unable to react. He declared that the boss's provocations had sealed his fate and that death was now inevitable. The boss was outraged that a lowly human had managed to strike him across the face. He told the boss that his face was made for hitting and promised to show him the true meaning of hell. With only 10 seconds of the technique active, he knew he had to maximize his damage while his health was critical. The onlookers watched in awe as the level 60 boss was completely overwhelmed and unable to fight back. The boss fell with shocking speed, confirming to everyone that the man truly possessed the power of a demon king. He marveled at the strength of his technique, which allowed him to recover his health based on the damage he dealt. The boss, battered and bloody, snarled at the humiliation of being made to look so weak. He screamed that he would never forgive the protagonist for the miserable state he was in. In a horrific display of cruelty, The boss began to describe how he would remove each of his enemy's organs. He vowed to slowly dismantle his opponent's body while he was still alive and conscious. He felt the boss's pressure intensifying and realized that his previous efforts hadn't been enough to end the fight. He stood his ground, taunting the boss to come and try his worst. The boss sneered at his bravado, telling him that his death was moments away regardless of his cocky attitude. He regretted killing the boss too quickly in his anger, wishing he had taken the time to make the creature suffer more. He revealed that he was still very much alive and warned the boss not to look down on him. The boss was stunned to see him unscathed and demanded to know what kind of trickery he had used. He refused to believe that a mere ant could survive his most powerful secondary form. He offered to share a secret with the dying boss as a final act of twisted kindness. He revealed that during his flurry of attacks, he had hidden something lethal inside the boss's body. The boss's confusion turned to terror as he asked what had been planted inside him. He explained that a delayed activation card skill was about to trigger deep within the boss's vitals. Desperate, the boss tried to activate his final form, but it was already too late. A black hole trap opened within the boss, tearing him apart from the inside out. The boss's final words were a weak protest against being defeated by a human. Americani. He mocked the boss's obsession with calling others ants until the very end. He remarked that the only place for ants was crushed beneath his feet on the ground. A notification confirmed the boss's death and the successful unlocking of a new intermediate rank mission. He mused over the potential rewards that would come from completing a challenge of even higher rank. He was intrigued by the possibility of evolving his skeleton fire into an even more powerful form. A voice praised him for his impressive performance, acknowledging that the youth was far from simple. A man demanded that he hand over the profession change item, claiming it didn't belong to him. She pleaded with her uncle to let him keep the item, reminding him that the protagonist had saved her life. The uncle dismissed her naivety, stating that obtaining the profession was a requirement from her father that must be met. He realized the uncle had misunderstood the situation and prepared for a fight, knowing his trump card was already spent. He scanned a level 45 guardian named Yer Du Tian and a level 50 boxer named Li Yufei. They warned him not to try using the item, claiming they had seen through all of his tricks. They threatened to kill the demon girl first if he didn't hand over the profession change item immediately. He stepped forward with a challenge, asking if they really thought they could ignore his presence. They mocked the group, calling them trash and asserting that no one could stop them from carrying out the execution. He laughed at their confidence, calling them fools for thinking they held the upper hand. He admitted he might not be able to protect everyone if they attacked at once, but he had a counter-threat. He asked if they were prepared to lose Zhang Jingjing in exchange for their attempt on the demon girl. The uncle realized the youth had outmaneuvered them, making the situation much more complicated than expected. He offered them a chance to settle everything by fighting him 3-on-1 for the rights to the item. He aimed to draw all of their hostility toward himself to ensure that no one else would get hurt in the crossfire. She repeated her plea to her uncle, trying to make him understand that the man was their benefactor. The uncle remained skeptical, questioning the youth's true intentions behind the rescue. She described the danger she had been in and how his timely intervention had saved her. He offered a curt apology for his previous reckless behavior during the tension. She introduced her family and asked for his name in an attempt to bridge the gap between them. He gave his name and immediately questioned why a warrior would possess such non-standard skills. He revealed his true nature as an astrologer who could manipulate the data shown on a player's profile. She marveled at the power and again invited him to travel with them to make the dungeon crawl easier. He declined once more, preferring the freedom and safety of traveling alone. She warned him to stay alert, acknowledging the danger he faced as a solo player in such a hostile place. The uncle noted that the boy's caution was well beyond his years, making him a formidable opponent. He used his powers once more to see if the boy would truly become an obstacle in the future. Stunned by his failure to see the youth's path, the uncle decided he had to be eliminated to prevent future trouble. He hissed in frustration as his plans began to unravel. He encountered Clement, a level 35 member of the flaming demon spirit race. A nearby team despaired over their lack of tactical variety and the strength of the monsters. They realized the dungeon was far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. He was pleased to find another strong monster to test his limits against. He shared a cold joke with Air, who simply wanted the battle to be over quickly. He approached the beast with a casual air, viewing it as nothing more than a warm-up exercise. He wondered about the nature of the strange fire he was seeing for the first time. A system message congratulated him on obtaining the legendary Necromancer Knight profession and its new skills. The rival guild was furious, realizing the spectral horse was the key to the class they had just lost. He complained about the discomfort of riding his new mount, much to the surprise of those around him. He recalled seeing various mounts in the human world and wished he could have found something more comfortable. The onlookers braced themselves, wondering if the newly transformed knight was about to strike. He was impressed by how the mount responded to his thoughts and changed its form to suit his needs. He prepared to unleash a devastating finishing move on his enemies. The boxer was shocked that the protagonist could outpace him, despite speed being his primary attribute. He launched a flaming motorcycle crash, a bizarre but effective use of his new powers. The opponent was insulted, feeling that the protagonist was making a mockery of their battle. He told them he was keeping them alive only so he could use them as test subjects for his new abilities. He noted with interest that one of his new skills had powerful crowd control properties. They claimed that even with a legendary class, a new player couldn't hope to defeat 3 high-level veterans. One of the veterans activated his ultimate skill, pushing his limits to the absolute maximum. Another launched a massive shield bash, charging forward with overwhelming force. He informed them he was about to use his strongest skill, fueled by the certificate he had taken from the boss. He unleashed the Blizzard Hellfire, an evolved and terrifyingly powerful area of effect spell. The veterans could only stare in horror as the frozen flames swept toward them. He quickly leveled up to 26 after successfully eliminating the players who challenged him. He looked at the frozen statues of his former enemies with a detached sense of curiosity. One survivor begged for a quick death, finally admitting that they had been completely defeated. He noted his level had increased again, granting him access to even more dark magic. The survivor asked in terror what new horror he was about to unleash. He activated his Death Spirit summoning skill to bring back the fallen as his servants. He ordered his new summons to finish off the remaining survivor. The man cursed him with his final breath, promising he would die a miserable death for his crimes. He noted the limitations of his zombies but found their infectious bite to be a useful special effect. He realized that every kill would now expand his undead army, making him an unstoppable force. Another level increase brought him to 28 as he continued his path of destruction. He felt satisfied with his growing power, knowing he was closer to achieving his ultimate revenge. And Air praised his strength, noting that even in a human body, he was still a force to be reckoned with. He warned her not to get too comfortable, reminding her that her guild leader was his sworn enemy. He demanded a reason to trust her, making it clear that her life was still balanced on a knife's edge. She promised to help him kill Li Jiyu, claiming their goals were now perfectly aligned. He questioned why she would betray the man who had provided her with so much power and resources. A voice noted that Li Jiyu had a dark, hidden motive for nurturing her all these years. She revealed that she had discovered the truth about his intentions thanks to her unique abilities. She explained her skill allowed her to copy the abilities of others, provided she met several strict conditions. After probing the guild leader, she discovered that his ultimate skill was far more sinister than anyone knew. She revealed that he intended to bind his soul to her body to inherit all of her attributes and skills. She realized she was being raised like livestock, destined to be slaughtered the moment she reached her full potential. He agreed that such a plan sounded exactly like something the guild leader would do. He decided to trust her for now for the sake of his daughter but warned her that betrayal would lead to her death. He made it clear that he would personally execute her if she ever crossed him. He asked in G-Air why her original demonic powers seemed so diminished compared to the past. She explained that her true strength had been locked away by a powerful seal. He asked if the guild leader was the one responsible for suppressing her magic. She revealed that it was actually Zhang Hao, the man he had fought long ago, who had placed the seal. He was surprised to learn the man had survived his self-destruct attack and realized he had underestimated his old foe. He asked for the details of what happened in the dungeon immediately following his supposed death. She recounted how a small group of players slaughtered everyone else to claim all the rewards for themselves. He demanded to know the fate of his own people who had been in the dungeon at the time. She explained that many were captured and turned into summons like her, but most had managed to escape. She reassured him that they were safe for now and that he could find them when the time was right. He realized his dungeon hadn't been fully raided and that his people were likely still hiding within the human world. She revealed the shocking truth that his dungeon had never actually closed after his death. She explained that the dungeon remained open because he had never truly died, sustaining its existence. He asked for the current location of the dungeon entrance, realizing it was the key to finding his followers. She warned that even though they knew the location, they weren't yet strong enough to reclaim it. She revealed that the entrance was being heavily guarded by Zhang Hao himself. The girl demanded to know what had happened to her uncle and the rest of their companions. He told her not to worry in a tone that suggested a dark outcome. She thanked him for his mercy, assuming he had spared their lives out of kindness. He coldly corrected her, stating that they were all dead and he had merely left their bodies intact. She was devastated, unable to understand why he had felt the need to kill such good people. He pointed out that they had tried to kill him first and that leaving their bodies in one piece was the only kindness he offered. He shattered her illusions by revealing that her good companions had murdered the other players before meeting her. She realized with horror why they hadn't encountered any other players during their journey. He explained that they had committed those atrocities solely to ensure she got the profession change for herself. She refused to believe it, accusing him of lying to tarnish the memory of her friends. He told her to believe what she wanted as he prepared to leave her behind. And G-Air suggested killing the girl to prevent future problems, but he dismissed the idea, unfazed by her potential revenge. He welcomed the idea of her family coming after him, viewing it as an easy way to gain more experience points. 3 days passed since the events in the dungeon. People whispered as he passed, recognizing him as the one who had cleared the legendary trial. He noted the awkward tension that his presence created among the common players. He realized that the fame coming from his new legendary profession was drawing far too much unwanted attention. A group of survivors lamented their heavy losses, noting that only 5 of them had made it out alive. He stepped forward and confirmed that he was the one who had successfully completed the profession change. He could feel the jealousy and resentment radiating from the players who had failed the mission. Various guilds began to bicker over him, each desperate to recruit a legendary necromancer knight into their ranks. He reflected on the harsh nature of their world, where the strong were sought after and the weak were ignored. He mused over the complexity of a woman's mind, noting that she had chosen to keep certain truths hidden. His little sister teased him for being so serious during their rare day out shopping together. He apologized, admitting that his mind had been occupied by the weight of recent events. She expressed her wish for him to find the same happiness she felt, noticing how much he had changed since becoming a player. He told her that her happiness was the only thing he needed to feel content himself. She promised to be as happy as possible to keep his spirits up. She excitedly declared that their next stop should be the amusement park. She accidentally bumped into someone and noted how hard and solid their body felt. The man she hit apologized and kindly asked if she was hurt. She brushed it off, admitting she had been being careless while they were walking. She turned to her brother to see if he was paying attention. He apologized to the man as well, explaining that they had been too wrapped up in their conversation to notice him. The man smiled, saying that the girl reminded him of his own little sister and that no apology was necessary. He bid them a friendly goodbye, stating he had other business to attend to. He noted the man was only a level 10 warrior, yet he felt an inexplicable sense of danger radiating from him. The encounter made him realize that the system's level displays could be deceptive, and he wondered about the stranger's true identity. A group of thugs blocked his path, telling him to get lost and that he was in a place he didn't belong. He calmly asked if he had reached the territory of the Wild Wolf Gang, as he had business with their leader. He demanded to know how the intruder discovered this hidden location, questioning the stranger's identity with a sharp edge in his voice. The figure simply told him to move aside, showing no interest in conversation. Enraged by the perceived disrespect, the guard warned that anyone seeking entry would have to step over his lifeless body first. Accepting the challenge with cold intent, the protagonist declared that he would fulfill that wish and end the guard's life immediately. Vomits. The narrator noted that the scenes of players falling to monsters paled in comparison to the tragic sight before them. Evidence suggested that the fallen members of the Wild Wolf Gang were eliminated not by monsters, but by other players. It became clear that player killers were growing increasingly bold, with over 10 victims discovered in this single incident. Even Zhang Dezhuang, the level 50 leader of the gang, had been toyed with and brutally dispatched by the mysterious killer. The investigator pointed out that this was different from a typical one-hit kill, as the bodies showed clear signs of prolonged torture. While the victims were known criminals, the narrator suspected the killer acted with a very specific and dark objective in mind. The conversation turned to a mysterious substance known as violet blood, a name unfamiliar to many present. It was revealed to be a potent new illusion medicine that the Wild Wolf Gang had been distributing. They speculated that the massacre was a targeted strike by someone seeking to seize the supply of violet blood. The situation was more complex than a simple robbery, as even the association's leadership was hesitant to move against the mastermind. The reluctance stemmed from the fact that an awakened player was behind the production of the illicit drug. The creator was identified as none other than the notorious insect king, Park Il-cheon. A subordinate apologized to his father figure, lamenting his failure to complete the assigned mission. The leader dismissed the failure casually, noting that while the loss of an ally was a pity, their utility had reached its end. He decided it was time to personally clean up the mess and restore order. He expressed his deep annoyance with the useless trash that seemed to surround him lately. For years, he had been waiting for a specific individual to appear, yet his patience remained unrewarded. The air crackled as the powerful god Saint Judgment skill was unleashed. A devastating apocalypse judgment followed, raining destruction down upon the battlefield. Frustration mounted as the group was wiped out yet again. Realizing they were only serving as experience points for their enemy, they clung to the hope that even if only one of them reached the human world, the mission could still succeed. They felt the presence of their king, who was waiting for them on the other side. After tracking his target, the protagonist demanded to know exactly where Park Il-cheon was hiding. The terrified informant pleaded ignorance, only knowing that the target planned to attend an upcoming auction. Despite the confession, the man trembled, asking what would become of him now that he had revealed everything. The protagonist coldly informed him that it was time to pay for his past crimes. With 1 week remaining, he looked forward to finally being liberated from the endless cycle of pain. Fate had a strange way of intertwining the paths of those who had only met once, despite their conflicting goals. The narrator observed that after a class change, the player's combat prowess had reached a level where normal players stood no chance. The challenger barked at his opponent to stop holding back and use their full strength. The fighter apologized for taking it easy, explaining that their full power would devastate the entire surrounding area. They suggested moving the duel to a secluded location where they could fight without restraint. A final warning was given. The coming attack was lethal, and taking it head-on would mean certain death. The opponent remained undeterred, inviting the strike with confidence. He demanded the strongest attack possible, eager to see the true extent of his rival's power. He needed to witness firsthand the massive gap that existed between himself and the awakened elite. A brush with death sent a shiver down his spine, relieved that he had activated his immortal state just in time. He realized with a heavy heart that the power of an awakened player was currently far beyond his reach. He was told not to dwell on the difference, as awakened players were essentially monsters in human form. He cursed the fact that Nana Miyamoto, a newly awakened player, already possessed such overwhelming strength. He reflected on how much stronger his old enemies must have become during the years he spent away. She worried that displaying her full power might have inadvertently crushed his fighting spirit. She decided to offer him comfort, hoping to leave a favorable and lasting impression. He vowed to grow stronger at a rapid pace to bridge the immense power gap between them. With a determined command to the system, he initiated a high-stakes challenge mission. Nana looked around in confusion, wondering where he could have vanished to so suddenly. He found himself in a strange facility, deciphering codes that pointed toward a dungeon known as the Dead Forest. Monsters appeared almost instantly, sensing an intruder in their midst. Security forces mobilized to eliminate what they thought were escaped monsters, only to be confused by a player's presence. Horror set in as he felt his body transforming, wondering if he was truly turning into a beast. He stared at his reflection in disbelief, realizing he had taken the form of a lowly goblin. He struggled to understand why the system had forced such a pathetic transformation upon him. He cried out in frustration, unable to accept his new identity as a common monster. With his skills and items locked, he relied solely on the system's map to find the mission objective. He lamented that such a weak form lacked any presence to intimidate his foes. To his surprise, the goblin body was far more resilient and difficult to kill than he expected. Where did it go? What? He resolved that even as a goblin, he would be the strongest one, finding the dungeon surprisingly manageable. The hunters closed in, having received orders from the higher-ups to leave no survivors. He cursed the system for trapping him in such a ridiculous and difficult mission. Saw him on this direction, but where did he go? The pursuers split up, determined not to let their target slip through their fingers. He ironically noted that being green provided excellent camouflage in the dense forest. Despite the absurdity of the mission, he was relieved to finally be nearing the objective. He warned the system that if the rewards weren't exceptional, he wouldn't tolerate such a weak identity again. He marveled at his own strength, realizing he could handle these creatures as long as he wasn't overwhelmed by numbers. He suspected that the dungeon held a hidden threat, a player far beyond his current capabilities. An experimenter mocked him, calling him a runaway object that needed to be returned to its cage. He cursed his luck, realizing his dark premonitions had come true the moment he voiced them. The attacker noted with twisted curiosity that even a goblin's blood ran red. Disappointed by the ruined specimen, the assailant ordered a cleanup crew to dispose of the mess. Facing death once more, he wondered if this was where his journey would finally end. The core was visible in the distance, a single step away from his ultimate goal. He reached out and finally secured the prize he had been searching for. He stood in awe of the Chimera's core, feeling its immense power thrumming in his hands. The system confirmed the fusion, unlocking a final mission to protect the core for one grueling hour. The pursuer marveled at his vitality, noting that he lived up to the reputation of his genetic lineage. He realized he had successfully fused with 2 other players using the power of the Chimera Cube. A new possibility emerged, the potential to fuse with monsters to increase his power even further. He decided to use the approaching enemy as a test subject for his new abilities. The experiment was a success, leaving him thrilled by the awesome power gained from monster fusion. A dark and ambitious plan began to take shape in his mind. Empowered by the core, he decided to use the remaining mission time to exact revenge on those who hunted him. The guards trembled, unable to comprehend the nature of the beast standing before them. He told them he was no mere monster, but something far more personal. He declared himself to be their worst nightmare come to life. The once arrogant hunters were reduced to pathetic pleas for mercy. A newcomer demanded to know the origin of the chaos and the identity of the creature responsible. The protagonist noted that it was no surprise he wasn't recognized, given how much he had changed. The fighter realized with shock that this powerhouse was the same goblin he had fought earlier. He told his opponent to stop worrying about the past and focus on the agony he was about to endure. He felt a sense of limitation, realizing he had reached the maximum fuse limit for his current form. The observer deduced that such rapid growth could only be the result of using the Chimera's core. He was surprised that his opponent knew about the existence of the rare core. The enemy claimed the core had a fatal flaw, one he intended to exploit to finish the job. Panic set in as he realized the sheer level of the awakened player he was facing. The adversary mocked him, stating that no amount of devouring could bridge the gap against a high-level master. He regretted his arrogance, realizing the survival mission was meant to be a test of endurance, not victory. He admitted to himself that defeating this opponent through brute force was currently impossible. He activated a series of dark skills, summoning spectral steeds and legions of the undead to the field. The opponent was impressed by his recovery speed, recognizing it as a trait belonging to a dragon lizard. The enemy threatened to dismantle him piece by piece to study the secrets of his transformed body. Driven by rage, the protagonist prepared a final, desperate counterattack. The master observed his use of a smoke toad's ability, unimpressed by the attempt at a stealthy strike. He dismissed the strategy as a mere trick, inviting the protagonist to try harder. He realized that against such a superior foe, conventional combat was a fool's errand. He decided that the only viable path to victory was to flee and survive the clock. His focus shifted entirely to dragging out the fight until the mission timer expired. He was ensnared by powerful strings, wondering what kind of profession could wield such restrictive force. The predator mocked his cowardice, disappointed that he wouldn't even put up a proper fight. He told the protagonist that he was born to be prey, and there was no escaping his destiny. The predator loomed over him, questioning how a mere victim could ever hope to outrun its killer. He unleashed a deadly poison, intending to retrieve the body once the painful end was certain. In a final act of defiance, the protagonist vowed to drag his enemy into the abyss with him. The enemy recoiled in disgust as the protagonist's counterattack landed. He screamed about his soiled clothes, and raged that a dirty monster had touched him. The protagonist laughed, telling the pervert that this humiliation was the price for looking down on him. He mocked the villain's ruined face, asking who the real prey was in this moment. Infuriated by the damage to his appearance, the villain abandoned the sample to focus on inflicting pure agony. He activated the Pharaoh's curse, intending to let his victim be devoured slowly from the inside out. The protagonist's vision blurred as he noted the skill type and the overwhelming level of his foe. Near death, he promised to remember this encounter and return one day to settle the debt. The villain laughed at the goblin's bold words, dismissing them as the empty threats of a dying creature. He moved to silence the protagonist forever, confident that the battle was finally over. To his shock, his attacks passed right through his target as the mission timer finally hit 0. With a final parting threat, the protagonist vowed to find and destroy his tormentor in the future. He materialized back in safety, exhausted and shaken by how close he had come to permanent death. For completing the Demon King's challenge, he received a mysterious monster egg and a fusion device. He looked at the egg skeptically, wondering if the system expected him to act as a parent to a monster. He realized that the fusion device was the true prize, far more valuable than the egg itself. He was amazed that the system allowed him to bring such a powerful artifact out of the dungeon. A brilliant idea took hold of him, seeing the fusion device as the key to bolstering his dungeon's defenses. He commanded the teleport gate to open, ready to return to his base of operations. After a long absence, he finally stepped back into his personal domain. He surveyed his territory, noting that he had more than enough materials to begin his experiments. He felt a surge of excitement, eager to see what kind of monstrosities he could create through fusion. The device description warned that while it evolved creatures, players used as material would simply die. He inventoried the 4 distinct types of monsters currently dwelling within his dungeon. His army ranged from lowly zombies to skeletal magicians and the formidable skeleton demon dragon. He decided to start small, choosing 2 basic zombies for his first fusion attempt. While the result was stronger, it wasn't enough to satisfy his hunger for true power. He wondered what would happen if he combined his entire horde of zombies into a single entity. The mass fusion transformed the weak undead into a squad of formidable elite monsters. Pushing the limits, he attempted to fuse 2 high-ranking zombie kings together. The system flashed a failure message, indicating that the zombies had reached their absolute peak evolution. He realized that just like his time as a goblin, there was a ceiling to how much one could grow through absorption. He turned his attention to mixing different species, pairing a suture monster with a skeletal magician. The result was a level 30 suture magic general, a powerful undead hybrid with magic capabilities. Once again, fuse. He continued the process relentlessly, hoping to create a boss capable of commanding all his forces. A level 40 Chaos Evil Demon emerged from the forge, radiating an aura of pure malice. He decided to use his strongest boss as the base, feeding it the Zombie Kings as high-grade materials. He smiled as a group of human players entered his dungeon, providing him with a fresh supply of materials. A group of intruders entered the burial area, surprised by the lack of resistance they encountered. The leader boasted about his expensive raid strategy, confident that everything was going according to plan. He urged his team to charge, promising easy experience points from the low-level zombies ahead. The players rushed forward, eager to pad their stats with what they thought were weak enemies. He was stunned to see his teammates falling instantly to monsters they should have easily defeated. The narrator mocked the leader's misunderstanding of what a low-level monster actually looked like. Horror spread through the group as they realized they were facing zombie kings usually found in high-tier dungeons. The leader cursed his useless strategy guide, realizing the information provided was dangerously outdated. Panic took hold of the team, with members abandoning the raid to save their own lives. A warning cry went out as a skeletal magician launched a devastating magical volley. The leader tried to rally his men, identifying a large creature as a suture monster and ordering a focused strike. Defeat. He realized too late that even this monster was a boss-rank entity that shouldn't be in this dungeon. One player broke down in tears, crying out for home as the nightmare intensified. Now, the protagonist watched the chaos with satisfaction, feeling the thrill of his growing power. He anticipated the final result of his fusion experiments with breathless excitement. A newly evolved creature knelt before him, pledging its absolute loyalty to its master. He was stunned to find that his boss monster had evolved into a self-conscious female demon. The demon requested a name from her master to solidify her new identity. He thought for a moment, searching for a title that carried enough weight for her new form. He proposed a long and grand name, hoping it would strike fear into the hearts of all who heard it. The demon seemed slightly overwhelmed by the complexity but accepted it gracefully to please him. Realizing it was a bit much, he decided to simply call her Demon Dragon for short. He was caught off guard by her sudden flirtatious behavior, wondering if player thoughts had influenced her personality. He brushed off her advances, insisting on a duel to test the limits of her new power. She misinterpreted his request, offering to handle him in a different kind of contest. Frustrated, he demanded that she take the combat training seriously. He told her to put an end to the perverted jokes and focus on the task at hand. She invited him to use more strength, confident that she could withstand anything he unleashed. Feeling toyed with, he considered if he needed to reconstruct her personality through the system. She suddenly unleashed a dragon roar, showcasing her formidable elemental power. He was impressed by the skill's force, noting its ability to control the battlefield and push him back. She asked if her display of power met his expectations, seeking his approval. He was shocked when she appeared behind him instantly, her agility far surpassing his own enhanced states. He concluded that her power rivaled his own, making them a formidable duo against any awakened player. She vowed to do anything for him, though she secretly wished to hide her true form when at full power. He examined her 3 new skills, realizing they were a direct result of the specific monsters used in her fusion. Her abilities ranged from crowd control and elemental bursts to a passive skill that granted immunity to death. With the auction approaching, he seethed at the humans who intended to profit from his stolen property. He vowed to take everything back and make them pay a heavy price for their greed. So weak, a boss questioned if all their channels had truly been dismantled by a single individual. The subordinate confirmed the report, describing the attacker as a complete lunatic. The boss showed no mercy to his failing servant, viewing him as a liability that brought unwanted trouble. Terror struck the subordinate as he realized his master was abandoning him to the approaching killer. He begged for one last chance, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. The seeker finally cornered Park Il-cheon, who was shocked to see someone he thought he had killed. The villain mocked him, saying he should have stayed hidden instead of coming back to die again. The protagonist fired back, asking why a man once beaten by a goblin was acting so high and mighty. He demanded the return of Xiaoyi, promising the villain a slow and painful demise. Park Il-cheon was stunned by the immense strength coming from someone who appeared to be a mere berserker. The protagonist suggested that the reason for his growth should have been obvious by now. He revealed with a grim smile that he too had ascended to the rank of an awakened player. The villain was in denial, recalling how his men had supposedly cut the protagonist into pieces. He explained that getting torn apart was actually the hidden condition to awaken his legendary profession. He stood before his enemy as a fury war soul, fueled by the power of the bloodthirsty Raksha. He unleashed a red burst shatter, the sheer force of the blow rocking the entire area. The villain struggled to comprehend how his opponent's strength was continuing to skyrocket mid-fight. He explained that his power increased non-stop as he took damage, making him more dangerous the longer the fight lasted. He gave one final ultimatum, demanding the location of the girl he was searching for. The villain refused, claiming that if he were at full health, the protagonist would be no match for him. Unmoved, the protagonist decided to find her through other means after ending the villain's life. A mysterious figure arrived, noting that the threat to their interests had finally drawn them out of hiding. He mocked the defeated Park Ilcheon for looking so pathetic after losing to a newcomer. He labeled the once-feared Insect King as nothing more than useless trash. He ordered his men to give chase and eliminate the protagonist before he became an even greater threat. The leader snapped at his subordinate, reminding him that he was nothing more than a trained dog. He was threatened with a miserable death if he failed to secure the supply of violet blood. He secretly plotted to use the item from the auction to heal himself and break free from his master's control. For many players, the annual auction was the most significant event of the year. While common items were traded through associations, legendary treasures were reserved for this exclusive event. The narrator noted that despite the high stakes, the actual security of the event was surprisingly lax. This was because the auction was run by 4 powerful awakened players whom no one dared to cross. He realized the auction house was filled with the world's rarest items and decided he would take them all. He asked for a favor, presenting a mysterious object to his companions. A girl was annoyed when someone tried to snatch an item she had seen first. An older woman lectured her, claiming she should be given the item out of respect for her elders. The girl shot back, saying she would only hand it over if the woman admitted she was an old hag. To her surprise, the woman readily agreed, demanding the item now that she had admitted it. The woman laughed, teasing the girl for her lack of capability despite her bold words. What happened? The protagonist intervened, warning that he wouldn't tolerate anyone bullying his sister. The atmosphere shifted when Nana recognized the woman, calling her Auntie Yi. Nana. The woman teased Nana about how much she had grown, offering her a massage to help her develop even more. She looked toward the protagonist and his sister, asking if they were Nana's friends. Yes. She noted the coincidence and decided to drop the argument for the time being. Out of respect for Nana, she allowed the girl to keep the item they had been fighting over. She congratulated Nana on her awakening, mentioning how proud her father would be. As she left, she gave a cryptic piece of advice. Remember to water the plant with blood. It was revealed that the woman was Yi Zhu Xian, the legendary medicine king and a top-tier healer. The group was stunned to learn that the youthful-looking woman was actually around 50 years old. He was disturbed by the realization that she was an old hag pretending to be a young girl. They suspected the item was special if it had caught the eye of the medicine king herself. Xiao Xiao, what is it that you fought over with that sister? I mean auntie. The sister explained that the old hag had been determined to take the item from her. She revealed that she only wanted the item so she could give it to her brother as a gift. Why is the medicine king interested in it? Never then d. Let's just buy it first. He approached the vendor, offering to buy the item despite its seemingly ordinary appearance. The vendor laughed, calling it trash he had picked up in a dungeon and selling it for a mere $2,000. The sister insisted on paying for it herself, wanting it to be a true surprise for her brother. Where did you get your money from? She proudly explained that she had been saving her secret allowance bit by bit for this moment. He thanked her for the thoughtful gift, touched by her effort to help him. When they checked the item, both their systems identified it as nothing more than a normal, useless plant. They speculated that its true nature was hidden behind a profession-specific requirement. Profession speciality? Now what does that mean? Nana explained that certain professions had passive skills that revealed hidden attributes of rare items. He realized the medicine king must have used a specialized analysis skill to see the plant's true value. Yup. Do you still remember what Auntie Yi said before she left? He recalled her final words about using his blood to nourish the plant. Upon doing so, a demon world flower fairy was born, recognized by the system as his new pet. The little fairy immediately grew attached to him, much to the adoration of the girls. He wondered why a level 5 creature was so important that it drew the attention of an awakened master. Auntie Yi wanted to get her so badly. She must have some special ability. He noted that despite her cute appearance, the little fairy was quite fierce and had already bitten him. He sighed at his luck, wondering why all the monsters he met seemed so clingy. Nana teased him, feeling a bit of jealousy at how much the newborn creature adored him. She grew annoyed, suspecting the little fairy was intentionally provoking her to stay close to him. This little one has so many bad thoughts. Outside, the city was in chaos as people tried to capture a rampaging elephant. Why does the city have an elephant? Have you guys not seen the news? What news? What happened? It was reported that a fanatic had released zoo animals in a misguided quest to give them eternal freedom. He reflected on the strange variety of people in the world before turning his focus back to the task at hand. With the auction about to begin, the group prepared to enter the main hall. The girls were excited at the prospect of seeing so many legendary treasures in one place. He had a different goal in mind. He wasn't there to buy, but to seize everything for himself. So many people, Nana offered to bring the sister into the exclusive VIP room reserved for awakened players. That's great. You can bring Xiao Xiao inside. What about you? He declined, preferring the public seats so he could move freely once his plan went into motion. Nana apologized, worried that her offer had come across as insensitive or arrogant. She mistakenly thought he resented her higher status and felt bad for making him feel inferior. He was confused by her sudden apology, unaware of the internal drama she was imagining. Big brother, I'll go with Sister Nana first. With the girls safely tucked away in the VIP section, he was finally free to act on his own. He noted the long queue and decided he needed a fresh corpse to use for his infiltration. Finally, it's my turn. A rude player tried to shove past him, demanding that the kid get out of his way. Other players protested the line cutting, but were quickly silenced by the intruder's intimidation. The man identified himself as Xue Ting from the God Dragon Guild, challenging anyone to make an enemy of them. What? You've something to say? He identified the man as a level 30 knight and noted that the God Dragon Guild belonged to his enemy, Lu Yi. Putting on an act, he praised the man's high level and profession to lower his guard. The arrogant knight laughed, pleased by the flattery and the recognition of his status. He told the others to learn from the brat if they wanted to survive in a harsh world. I wonder what kind of treasure does this auction has. Once they were alone, he decided the knight would make the perfect vessel for his plan. He dragged the unconscious man away, telling bystanders that his friend had simply had too much to drink. It's starting soon. Hope plan can proceed smoothly. He looked up at the VIP section, seeing Nana and his sister settled into their premium seats. Whoa, so many people. Let's see if I can find Big Brother. I have never thought we're still separated. Auntie Yi approached Nana, teasing her about whether her boyfriend had come along as well. Nana flustered, denying the relationship and insisting she was only there to observe. The sister glared at Auntie Yi, clearly unhappy with the woman's playful meddling. They bickered about their looks and growth potential, with the sister mocking the older woman's stagnant form. A cold voice commanded them to be quiet, cutting through the petty argument. Who do you think you are? Oh, that sick kid. Park Il-cheon threatened the Medicine King, reminding her that he could still have her removed from the elite list. She fired back, calling him a stinky bug, and promising to crush him if he didn't shut his mouth. The crowd grew excited, hoping to see a full-scale battle between two awakened masters. Finally, there's a good show to watch. Another player joined in, laughing at the prospect of blood being spilled before the auction even began. Auntie Yi mocked the newcomer's mental state, offering a medical checkup for her obvious illness. A mediator stepped in, urging everyone to calm down as the auction was officially commencing. The villain backed off, claiming he had more important business to attend to than a petty brawl. The aggressive woman was disappointed by the peace, clearly thirsting for a more violent distraction. A security official warned her that causing trouble would result in her membership being revoked. She conceded, giving the master of the house face while expressing her boredom with the situation. Miss Fujiwara, thank you. The sister worried if her brother would become as eccentric as these masters once he awakened. He observed the room, noting that 4 major awakened players were present to compete for the treasures. One of the masters looked at the protagonist's vessel, feeling a strange sense of familiarity from the night. The lights dimmed and the stage was set as the auctioneer officially opened the proceedings. The first item was revealed: the Ascetic's helmet, a special piece of equipment with unique properties. It granted a passive provoke skill, allowing the wearer to draw all nearby damage for a short time. Many players scoffed at the item, viewing it as a suicide piece of gear that no one would want. He recognized its true potential as a powerful tool for battlefield control and decided he would seize it later. The bidding opened at a staggering 1 million, and the room quickly grew competitive. Double. This is a good artifact at defense and attack. I must get it. Prices soared as bidders doubled and tripled their offers in a desperate attempt to secure the artifact. 38 has offered 2.2 million. This side added more. 69 offered 4.4 million. The price hit 5 million, leading to heated exchanges between the wealthiest players in the room. He watched with amusement as professional price adders drove the bid higher and higher. 5.2 million calling once, calling twice. Must succeed. The gavel fell at over 5 million, marking the first major sale of the night. He realized the auction was using plants to inflate prices and decided to play along with their little game. The next item was the Victory Bell, a legendary artifact capable of buffing an entire team's attributes. 66 doubled. 1 million. He identified a fat sheep in the crowd, a wealthy bidder who seemed determined to win at any cost. 64 offered 5 million. 66 has offered 5.4 million. The bid reached over 6 million, and the protagonist enjoyed watching the rich play right into his hands. He felt like a puppeteer, treating the wealthy bidders like clowns dancing in the palm of his hand. Any more bidder? Anyone else? The auctioneer looked for more bids, but the room had suddenly gone quiet. He had successfully manipulated the bid beyond his rival's limit, leaving them frustrated and empty-handed. Security tightened as the entrance was sealed, marking the start of the final and most prestigious rounds. If you don't want to die, F***CK off. The auctioneer announced the final 2 items, which everyone knew were the true highlights of the night. First was the nameless demon sword, the legendary weapon of the fallen immortal demon king. Though legendary, the sword was said to be unusable by anyone, even the most powerful awakened players. He bristled at the mention of the dead demon king, vowing to show them all who the true master of the blade was. It was announced that the sword would be given as a gift to the person who spent the most during the auction. Now, the next product is today's last and final product. The crowd murmured as the Wright and Rhine brothers, 2 high-level masters, personally escorted the final item. Their presence alone signaled that the item about to be revealed was of unprecedented value. The treasure was the Sky God's Tears, a legendary healing item capable of even reviving the dead. He realized this was the key to his goals and resolved to get his hands on it at any cost. The starting bid was set at a jaw-dropping $1 billion. Bidding immediately skyrocketed to $2 billion as the heavy hitters in the room made their moves. Many players withdrew in fear once the Insect King, Park Ilcheon, entered the bidding war. He studied the Insect King, realizing he was the same master he had faced in the challenge dungeon. He noted the man looked more weary than before, but his presence was still as suffocating as ever. The Insect King threatened to kill anyone who dared to bid against him, but the Medicine King wasn't intimidated. I'm Medicine King. That's my natal life item. Don't overthink you. The price escalated into the tens of billions, becoming a battle of pure wealth and will between the masters. Confusion spread as a mysterious bidder, number 65, suddenly doubled the price to 16 billion. Interesting. One of the masters realized that bidder 65 was just a corpse being controlled by someone nearby. Since it's you, I'll play around with you. The Insect King grew furious, thinking the God Dragon Guild was intentionally trying to sabotage him. Number 1 has increased the price and offering 20 billion. I shall fight. I'm get. Number 2 offers 25 billion. The bid reached an unthinkable 50 billion as the protagonist pushed the vessel to its limit. Number 1 offers 60 billion. Number 65 offers 80 billion. The room erupted as the bid hit 100 billion, shattering all previous auction records. Park Il-cheon reached his breaking point, deciding he would simply steal the item if he couldn't win it. He began his final countdown, prepared to unleash chaos and execute his grand plan. 100 billion calling once. 100 billion calling twice. 100 billion calling thrice. The deal was struck at 100 billion, signaling the start of the protagonist's move. Panic flared as a high-level dungeon suddenly manifested right in the middle of the auction hall. He planned to use the chaos to steal the items with the corpse and retreat into the dungeon where masters couldn't follow. The masters were confused by the appearance of a level 30 dungeon, but one arrogant player offered to clear it alone.
Arrogant humans. Arrogant?
Are you talking about yourself? We brothers. Park Il-cheon was shocked to see the man he thought he had killed standing before him once again. Nana and the others watched in confusion, unable to understand what was happening on the floor. Park Il-cheon, the protagonist's voice boomed through the hall, demanding that the Insect King come down and face his end. Xueting was shocked to see his path blocked during the high-stakes auction for the Sky God's tier. The antagonist roared in fury, questioning where Xueting found the audacity to interfere before declaring it a death sentence. Consumed by rage, he lunged forward with the intent to end Xueting's life right then and there. Desperation took hold as the protagonist cursed his luck, feeling the weight of the dire situation. Frustration boiled over into repeated cries of anger as things spiraled out of control. He lamented his status as an awakener, questioning why he was constantly victimized and looked down upon by those he considered trash. The tone shifted to one of cold vengeance as he demanded the location of his kidnapped sister, declaring that the debt must be paid today. Catching his breath, he felt a brief moment of relief thanks to his invincibility skill, while still seething at the group of cowards surrounding him. He vowed that the death of Zhou Qing would not go unpunished, promising a brutal retribution. He realized a misunderstanding had occurred with a woman who mistook his disguise, yet he remained focused on eliminating the threat to his master. He couldn't help but feel slighted by the indirect insults being hurled his way during the chaos. Recognizing the enemy's fading stamina, the group planned to finish him off before the game master arrived to intervene. The chase intensified as they ordered a stop to his retreat, unleashing a devastating dragon roar. The villain scoffed at the idea of escaping, confident that once his wounds healed, he would stand above everyone as a god among trash. Panic set in for the onlookers as they realized they had to stop his recovery at all costs. He mocked the perceived weakness of his opponent, asserting that even among awakeners, there was a massive power gap. He taunted his foe, asking if the earlier confidence had vanished and mocking the hope of ever rescuing the younger sister. A sinister plan was revealed as he prepared to infect his opponent's body with a controlling parasite. He demanded total submission, calling his enemy a dog while dismissing his defiant words as mere nonsense. He noted that seeking powerful auction equipment to regain strength was a goal shared by many in this world. He questioned if the opponent truly believed they were the legendary Aldslay, capable of wielding the useless sword. Confirming his own identity, he decided that a swift death was the only appropriate gift for someone who knew too much. The atmosphere grew heavy as an overwhelming and terrifying aura began to radiate through the area. A chilling realization dawned that the depths of hell had been emptied of their terrors. It seemed as though the devil himself had manifested within the mortal realm. He wondered if the presence had finally moved to the world outside. After years of isolation in the dungeon, his sudden departure signaled that something significant was happening in the human world. They speculated that his long vigil was finally ending because their king had finally descended among humans. Seizing the opportunity of Zhang Hao's absence, they planned to send a scout to find their king in the other world. They coordinated a distraction for the players guarding the dungeon to ensure their scout had enough time to fulfill the mission. Insulted by the lack of respect, he threatened his opponent's life while eyeing the precious equipment they had gathered. He noted that the power flowing through the opponent was far beyond the limits of any normal player. He declared that the details didn't matter, as today would mark the end of another awakened player's journey. Shock spread through the crowd as they recognized a figure they believed had long since perished. Whispers began to circulate, wondering if this mysterious returnee was indeed the legendary Aldslay. Taking advantage of the distraction, some attempted a hasty retreat while the legendary figure's return was confirmed. The air was filled with the realization that a legend had truly returned to their midst. Disbelief turned to certainty as they questioned if the man before them was truly the great Aldslay. The magic sword of the immortal king vibrated in response to its true master, unlocking a powerful transformation skill. He inherited the attributes of the immortal demon king for a brief minute, experiencing a tenfold increase in his current power. His stats surged to godlike levels, with his physical and mental attributes reaching heights beyond human comprehension. Those watching were awestruck by the display of true power, finally seeing the legend in action. A cry of pure hatred erupted toward the protagonist. Driven by vengeance for her father, she lunged forward, blinded by the belief that he was the killer. He realized she was operating on a lie, but with only a minute of power remaining, he couldn't afford a lengthy explanation. Effortlessly dodging her attack, he urged her to look closer at the people who were actually with her father that day. He told her to wait as he turned his attention toward his real target. With a cold gaze, he announced that it was finally time for the true enemy to face him. The villain activated an unlimited skill, unleashing an insect parasite while boasting of his newfound strength. He laughed maniacally, looking forward to the rewards he expected to reap after killing the legend. A sudden, sharp sound cut through the air as the battle reached its peak. With a roar of effort, the attacker threw everything into a final lethal strike. Unmoved, the protagonist expressed his boredom and declared that the time for his counterattack had arrived. The villain's confidence crumbled into a plea for mercy as he realized the true scale of the power he faced. Unleashing the Frost Hell skill, the protagonist delivered a definitive and freezing blow. The system recorded the elimination of one awakened player from the field. Confusion arose over the sudden kill, as only the deceased knew the location of the missing sister. He reassured his companions that the enemy was merely severely wounded, noting the incredible toughness of awakened players. The defeated enemy cursed his luck, forced to use his final trump card to survive. For the next month, he would be forced to inhabit the lowly body of a parasitic worm to stay alive. He vowed to reveal the protagonist's identity to his enemies, hoping they would finish the job for him. Despite his weakened state, he laughed at the thought of the chaos he would soon unleash. He insulted those around him, shocked that another awakened player had been hiding in their midst. He admitted to his own carelessness in forgetting that auctions often attract powerful and hidden players. He grew impatient, wondering why his supposed ally hadn't attacked yet and promising a reward for their help. He was met with a cold command to be silent, his noise clearly irritating those around him. Trapped in a dark prison, he desperately tried to negotiate a trade for his survival, addressing the protagonist by his old name. The protagonist questioned her motives and how she knew his true name, while she maintained a deceptively easygoing demeanor. She offered a mysterious gift as a gesture of goodwill for their first encounter. While she suggested storing the prisoner in his inventory, his master was warned not to trust her hidden intentions. She laughed at their naivety, mocking their limited understanding of what it truly meant to be an awakened player. She claimed that even if they all attacked at once, they weren't even worthy of being killed by her hands. The atmosphere was crushed by an overwhelming pressure that left them gasping for air. She explained the massive gap in their combat abilities, dismissing others as either past their prime or mere novices. With absolute confidence, she claimed she could wipe them all out in 10 minutes, regardless of their current power. Warning them that time was short, she offered to hide their identities in exchange for a future favor. When questioned on her reliability, she pointed out that they had no other viable options but to trust her. She set a meeting place for 10 days later to discuss their trade, leaving the protagonist to ponder her true scheme. He ordered his items moved to the dungeon before sealing the entrance, planning to regroup later in safety. She promised to extract the location of his sister, prompting a vow from him to pay any price for her safety. They planned to split up and hide in the slums, fully aware that the association would soon be hunting them down. He remained confident that once he recovered his strength, no normal person could pose a threat to him. His companion was shocked to see his level drop back to 10, which he explained was a unique trait of his profession. A new, more secure hiding spot came to mind as they planned their next move. The search for the legendary aura continued, as others desperately tried to track his location. They confirmed the presence was definitely the one they were looking for. They questioned why he had been hiding in a dungeon for years, only to learn he had been reborn as a human player. The name of the reborn legend was revealed to be Xue Ting of the Dragon Clan. Concern was raised for a companion's well-being after she was knocked unconscious during the fray. He planned a specialized treatment for her injuries, but was told she would recover with simple rest. Gratitude was exchanged for the rescue, acknowledging that a new conflict had been sparked by the legend's rebirth. He decided to head to the association to gather intelligence, leaving the care of his companion in trusted hands. With the immediate danger past, he prepared to move forward with the next stage of his long-term plan. An urgent system warning was issued, labeling a specific individual as extremely dangerous. Rumors spread about the Dragon God Association member, with many questioning the true extent of his hidden power. He realized the association was keeping the legend's return a secret to avoid panic, which worked in his favor. He acknowledged that the woman had kept her word about his identity, though he still questioned her ultimate goal. He demanded the prisoner be handed over, eager to finally learn where his sister was being held. He was told to stay calm, as their secret alliance remained undiscovered for the time being. Driven by a single-minded focus, he demanded they break the prisoner's silence immediately to rescue his sister. The prisoner shouted insults, threatening revenge once he regained his true form. He taunted them with his knowledge, claiming the sister would starve if he wasn't kept alive. The protagonist struggled with the urge to kill the man, knowing his sister's life depended on his cooperation. Though hesitant, he realized he had to take a darker path to get the information he needed. He decided to show the prisoner that there were fates far worse than death. He revealed that he wouldn't be the one doing the interrogation, but rather a much more terrifying associate. They entered a hidden dungeon within a dungeon, a place so dark he had hoped never to open it again. He handed the prisoner over to the waiting specialist. A sharp sound echoed through the chamber as they moved into the depths. The heavy doors were commanded to open, revealing what lay inside. The air rushed out of the room as the seal was finally broken. A woman greeted the protagonist with disturbing affection, claiming they would never be apart again. A jealous spat broke out between the companions, with insults flying over who was closer to the master. The verbal sparring continued as they mocked each other's appearances with biting cruelty. He cut through the bickering, assigning a specific task to the woman known as Celine. Celine pledged her absolute loyalty, ready to carry out any command given by her lord. He utilized her family's legacy as demon realm torturers to ensure the prisoner would speak quickly. She turned to the prisoner with a predatory smile, announcing that their time together had just begun. The prisoner tried to assert his status as a king, but his bravado was hollow. Screams echoed as Celine prepared her tools, promising the protagonist results in short order. Even his own companions felt a pang of pity for the suffering the prisoner was about to endure. Battered and broken, the antagonist wondered if his end had finally come in the darkness. A powerful and familiar aura signaled the arrival of someone important. It was reported that the prisoner was ready to confess in exchange for his life being spared. Celine offered to continue the torture for more information, but the protagonist was pressed for time. He demanded to be taken to the prisoner immediately to hear the confession himself. The broken man pleaded for mercy, promising everything if only the pain would stop. He revealed the coordinates of a secret laboratory in the northern mountains where the sister was hidden. They arrived at the desolate location, wondering if they had found the right place. Despite the matching coordinates, the eerie silence made them suspect a trap. He noted that the villain's paranoid nature meant he likely kept this place entirely to himself. To keep the precious purple blood for himself, he had avoided telling even his closest allies about the lab. They discovered a high-level nightmare beetle standing guard over the entrance. One companion remarked on the irony of calling such a large beast little. The protagonist noted the creature's surprising speed as it moved to intercept them. A heavy thud signaled the start of the brief skirmish. He dryly suggested that the beast should learn some manners. The creature was dealt with as if it were a common nuisance. They found a deep descent leading further into the earth. The facility looked like an old Challenger dungeon that had been left to rot for years. He recognized scratch marks he had left behind during a previous transformation. He cried out his sister's name as he finally reached her. Though she looked weak, He was relieved to find her wounds were already starting to heal. They realized she belonged to an ancient race of legends, explaining her incredible abilities. He decided to move her to his own dungeon for better care, utilizing his hoard of healing medicines. He left his sister in safe hands, heading off to deal with another lingering issue. His companion offered her help for any future troubles as a sign of her gratitude. He acknowledged the offer, seeing it as a valuable addition to his growing influence. He returned to finish his business with the prisoner, who greeted him with misplaced hope. He ordered the door guarded so he could have a private, final conversation with the captive. He confirmed that the sister had been found, much to the prisoner's dismay. The captive threatened revenge once his body recovered, but the protagonist remained unfazed. He questioned the prisoner about a goblin from his past, seeking to connect the dots of his own history. The revelation that 10 years had passed for the prisoner, while only a week had passed for him, hinted at time dilation. He prepared to leave, reminding the captive that he had promised not to kill him. However, he left the man with a chilling implication that he might soon wish for death. He handed the prisoner back to Celine, instructing her to stop only when the man begged for the end. She promised to manage the prisoner's agony with clinical precision. The woman from earlier wondered why she had been spared after her father's death. Doubts began to surface about whether the protagonist was truly responsible for her loss. He invited her in, seeking to check on her progress. He asked about her recovery with genuine concern. She expressed her gratitude for his protection, moved by how much he seemed to care for her safety. He told her to simply focus on her health for the time being. She mentioned that the mysterious hero had disappeared, still unsure of his true identity. He realized his disguise had worked, as she associated the hero with the wanted Xueting. A commotion nearby caught his attention, and he went to investigate the source of the noise. He searched for the source of the voice, wondering where his sister had gone. He moved quickly toward the sound of the disturbance. He found his sister trying to dress a stray cat she had named De Huang. He was amused and confused by the choice of name for the small creature. He was shocked to discover that the cat was actually a high-level awakened known as the Beast King. He told his sister to wait while he had a private word with the powerful entity. The Beast King, in cat form, explained that he bore no grudge over his subordinate's fate. He revealed he had been forced to transform into a cat to survive his injuries. He admitted he would have died if not for the kindness of the protagonist's sister. He defended his lifestyle, claiming he only sought freedom and followed his natural instincts. He complained about the one who defeated him, claiming his rival was wasting high-level gear. The protagonist offered a partnership against their common enemy, despite the Beast King's current state. The Beast King was hesitant, unsure if he could trust the words of a stranger. He considered that it might be safer to eliminate the protagonist rather than trust him. He revealed that he knew the protagonist's true identity as Aldslay through his scent. He had connected the scent of the parasite to the recent riots to uncover the truth. Elsewhere, a briefing was held regarding the recent chaotic events. Due to the chairperson's absence, another leader took charge of the investigation. They announced the recruitment of 2 top-tier players to hunt down the elusive Xueting. The new arrivals were met with skepticism, as their past failures were well known among the elite. Internal conflicts were blamed for the failure to capture the target during the earlier scout mission. Insults were traded between the leaders, highlighting the deep divisions within their ranks. The tension escalated as they argued over who was to blame for the current mess. They were ordered to be silent, as the mission took priority over their personal petty squabbles. They suspected that the mysterious dungeon at the auction was directly linked to the return of the legend. A global bounty was placed on the Land of Death dungeon, with a solo challenge planned for its conquest. The Beast King promised to keep the protagonist's secret, fueled by his own hatred for the association. Acknowledging the power gap, he accepted the protagonist's temporary protection and a bribe of catnip. He finished his conversation with the cat and urged his sister to continue looking after it. She happily agreed, planning a future of luxury and toys for her new pet. The Beast King was horrified to hear her mention a visit to the vet for a certain procedure. He quickly intervened to save the Beast King from a grim fate. A system announcement flashed, confirming the massive bounty on his personal dungeon. Worried the connection had been discovered, he realized he needed to move the dungeon's portal immediately. He made a hasty excuse to his sister so he could tend to the urgent matter. he discovered that a group of players had already found his dungeon but hadn't reported it yet. Faced with level 50 players, he decided to observe before making a move. The players discussed reporting the find to collect the guild's bounty. One player suggested they keep it a secret to hoard whatever treasures lay inside. They speculated that the high bounty meant the loot was incredibly valuable. They planned to use a lower-level player as bait, intending to abandon him if things got dangerous. The protagonist played along, amused by their plan to use him while they were clearly over-leveled. He feigned being impressed by their strength, asking about their high levels. He questioned how such powerful players could even enter a lower-level dungeon. They revealed a powerful artifact that allowed them to bypass level requirements for any dungeon. Confident in their superiority, they thanked the artifact for making the raid a walk in the park. They were caught off guard by a sudden, cryptic comment from the protagonist. A warning was shouted as a monster suddenly appeared from the shadows. They were confused by the eerie smile on the face of the creature. One player mistakenly thought the monster looked friendly. The protagonist corrected them, stating the creature was simply welcoming its master. A massive explosion rocked the area as the trap was sprung. The survivors were outraged, accusing the protagonist of betraying his own team. He moved with lethal speed, cutting through the group in a flurry of strikes. He noted with satisfaction that killing high-level players provided a massive boost to his experience. He unlocked a new zone ability and decided it was finally time to move his base of operations. Hungry for more power, he set his sights on conquering much higher-level dungeons. He successfully defeated a powerful wizard and conquered the taboo forest. His path of destruction continued as he cleared the bloody desert of its shadow boss. He completed yet another conquest by defeating the boss of Death Island. He eventually made his way to the Hall of the Players Association. He felt the local dungeons were becoming too easy and their rewards too meager for his current needs. He reviewed his new artifacts, which provided temporary attribute boosts and monster manipulation abilities. With a horde of extra mastery points, he looked for a more challenging quest that the standard list couldn't provide. He was approached by a high-level mage who recognized him as the legendary Death Knight. He responded with his usual bluntness, asking what the stranger wanted. She revealed she was from the prestigious Yingling Palace and had been tracking his impressive string of conquests. He grew impatient with the small talk and demanded she get to the point. She explained that elite guilds had access to exclusive, high-value dungeons hidden from the general public. Interested in the prospect of better loot, he asked for more details about these secret locations. She described an epic-rated dungeon called the Peak of Cress, known for its abundant and rare artifacts. He noted the level requirement was far above his own, yet he remained intrigued by the challenge. She revealed they knew about his ability to bypass level limits and invited him back to their headquarters. Upon arrival, he mocked the grandeur of their base, comparing it unfavorably to his past dwellings. He was introduced to the high-ranking members of the guild, including their powerful master. The guild master, a high-level thunder tactician, welcomed him with great respect. He maintained his arrogant front, downplaying the guild's impressive facilities. He met the deputy guildmaster, a legendary former member of the Holy Dragon Guild. The presence of such a high-level dragon hunter caught his attention immediately. The crusade leader was introduced as a veteran who had never lost a team member under his command. He wondered why such a high-level player wasn't running the guild himself, while the plan for the raid was laid out. The crusade leader expressed doubt about bringing a seemingly low-level player on such a dangerous mission. He was challenged to a test of strength, with the leader offering a bet on his own defensive armor. Despite the guildmaster's attempts to keep the peace, the protagonist accepted the challenge with a smirk. He raised the stakes, demanding that the leader act like a dog if he lost the duel. The leader agreed, confident that his mythic gear would make him untouchable. He pushed aside all warnings, determined to humble the arrogant captain. The captain summoned a legendary eternal shield, radiating immense power. The onlookers gasped at the sight of such a rare and powerful mythic item. It was revealed to be a relic of a demon king who was once the protagonist's equal. The crowd whispered about the captain's confidence and the protagonist's perceived impending doom. The guildmaster watched with hidden interest, curious to see the true extent of the protagonist's power. He admitted that only a strong recommendation convinced him to let a level 40 player join the team. The captain laughed, calling the protagonist trash compared to the power of his mythic shield. The protagonist realized the shield was actually a defective shell without its core soulstone. Confident he could break the weakened relic, he prepared his strike. The captain mocked him for attempting to use bare fists against mythic armor. He warned the captain not to be so sure of himself before delivering the final blow. The spectators laughed at what they thought was a delusional boast. They waited for him to fail, convinced he was just a loudmouth bluffer. He decided to use a specific artifact to boost his strength for the strike. He consumed the beast's blood to significantly increase his physical attributes. He prepared to unleash a secret and devastating power. A massive boom echoed as he made contact with the legendary shield. The captain was shocked by the sheer force, recognizing it as an advanced awakened ability. The protagonist declared that it was time for the captain to fulfill his end of the bargain. He told the captain to stop his useless shouting and look at his armor. A sharp cracking sound filled the room as the legendary defense failed. The mythic shield lay in ruins, completely destroyed by the single hit. The captain stared in horror at his shattered prize, unable to believe what had happened. He accused the protagonist of cheating by using external artifacts instead of his own power. The protagonist countered that using his own items was perfectly fair in a world of monsters and gear. He mocked their inability to accept a fair defeat in front of their peers. The guildmaster stepped in, confirming that the duel was legitimate and the defeat was absolute. He ordered the captain to follow through on the humiliating promise he had made. The captain struggled to find the words, his pride completely shattered. He begged the onlookers not to watch his moment of total shame. Surprisingly, the protagonist offered a way out, asking for a different form of payment instead. The captain was relieved, but the protagonist demanded the broken shield as his prize. Believing it was now just useless scrap, the captain gladly handed it over to save his dignity. He watched as the protagonist accepted what everyone else thought was garbage. Secretly, the protagonist knew that once he found the soulstone, the mythic shield would repair itself. The guildmaster was left wondering about the true nature of the man his friend had recommended. He concluded that the new recruit was an absolute monster in human skin. A secret conversation revealed that the guild had been given the dungeon for a specific purpose. It was admitted that the challenge was a test for those ambitious enough to take it. He recalled his own nightmare at the Peak of Cress, predicting a total wipeout for the new group. A grudge against the guild's leadership fueled a desire to see them fail miserably. He declared that if they overstepped their bounds, they would face total annihilation. The seal on the hidden dungeon was prepared to be broken for the coming battle. They explained that the association had kept the place sealed to protect humanity from the horrors within. He questioned the history of the dungeon, learning it had first appeared 12 years ago. He realized the timing of the dungeon's arrival perfectly matched the disappearance of the Snow Elf clan. The ancient seal shatters, prompting a frantic call to conquer the dungeon in the name of the Yiling Palace. To an outsider, their zealous chants sound more like a cult than a guild. The environment is choked with thick smoke, suggesting the entire territory was teleported here by an unknown force. He recalls his past life when this very land was reduced to a barren wasteland. He warns the group to stay sharp, reminding them that an epic tier dungeon is no place for a vacation. Their mission is to reach the Peak of Cress, though the guild members remain overconfident, believing their leader makes the challenge trivial. Standing in their way is a level 70,000-year Yeti, a formidable beast of the snow. Clang. He scoffs at the monster, viewing the guild master as nothing more than a tool to clear the path. The ease of the battle leads some to believe the dungeon is underwhelming. They mock the elite monsters, calling the level 70 beasts a mediocre appetizer for their crusade team. The sudden silence is broken by a desperate command to move as an unexpected threat emerges. Frustration boils over as a hidden enemy launches a cowardly sneak attack from the shadows. He identifies the origin of the strike, attributing the expert marksmanship to the elusive Snow Elf clan at the peak. Confusion spreads through the ranks as they wonder how an attack could reach them from such a distance. He marvels at the protagonist's observational skills, wondering how he spotted the threat before anyone else. The guild master snaps at his tank for failing to raise his shield, but the warrior was fooled into thinking the fight was over. He demands absolute focus, reminding them that in an epic dungeon, even the smallest mistake results in a swift death. The air grows heavy with a sense of dread as the team realizes these monsters are far more dangerous than they anticipated. He decides to play along with their little game for now, keeping his true intentions hidden. He asks if they've noticed the strange behavior of the Yetis, suspecting something is deeply wrong. These beasts have strayed far from their mountain habitats, acting as if they are fleeing in terror. The Man-Eater clan, who usually rule the base of the peak, has vanished without leaving a single trace behind. The unsettling silence hanging over the snow elf village suggests that a dark presence is already lurking nearby. The group prepares for combat as they finally stumble upon the monster village ahead. The village is eerily quiet, leading them to believe the inhabitants have long since abandoned their homes. Seeing a house buried under the snow, he suspects that something valuable or dangerous might be hidden beneath the drifts. He steps forward, intending to clear the path and uncover the secrets buried under the frost. The sight that greets them inside is absolutely horrifying. They find the remains of the Snow Elf clan, realizing they were slaughtered by their own specialized techniques. While beast marks are present, he recognizes the handiwork of the man-eaters, wondering how they overcame the powerful Snow Elf leader. He vows not to be caught off guard again as new enemies emerge from the whiteout. A group of level 78 man-eater predators surrounds them, and the team quickly scrambles into a defensive formation. The guild master questions why he isn't helping, but he remains indifferent, focused on his own hidden objectives. He views the players as mere tools for experience, noting how the protagonist remains nonchalant even in the face of rare elite mobs. He feigns cowardice to hide his strength, internally mocking the players as tools meant to grind experience for him. The monsters bear strange whip marks, suggesting they weren't acting of their own free will. The presence of collars indicates these powerful predators were being kept as lowly captives. As the last monster falls, the greedy players rush forward to claim the spoils of victory. Boom! Their celebration is cut short as a mysterious girl suddenly appears on the battlefield. Sensing an overwhelming power, the guild master screams for his team to retreat immediately. He desperately activates a protective barrier, hoping to shield his subordinates from the coming blow. Whoosh, shwoop. He watches in horror as his ultimate defense is bypassed as if it were made of paper. The mysterious girl scoffs, declaring that only those of high status are fit to kneel before her. Realizing the gap in power, the leader commands everyone to stand down before they are slaughtered. Crackle. Disbelief spreads through the group as the girl effortlessly evades the guild master's retaliatory strike. She mocks their lack of strength, claiming their puny attacks couldn't possibly leave a scratch on her. He suspects there is a trick to her movements, realizing she didn't actually dodge the previous attack. She unleashes a devastating wave of thunderous energy, aiming to obliterate everything in her path. The ground rumbles as she prepares to move on, leaving destruction in her wake. The guild master is paralyzed by confusion, wondering why his own power was turned against his comrades. He struggles to comprehend how his strike missed, searching for the trick behind her reality-bending abilities. He looks down at the elite team, mocking their miserable state after such a brief encounter. He explains the simple secret of her ability, revealing that she wasn't the one moving to avoid the hits. Her power alters the mind of her opponents, forcing their attacks to miss whenever they get too close to her. The guild master realizes he only needs to maintain a safe distance to bypass her mental interference. He unleashes his divine retribution, calling down lightning from a distance to strike her down. Whoosh! Despite the onslaught, she remains unfazed, prompting the guild master to prepare a final, lethal blow. He tries to intervene, but a familiar presence stops him in his tracks. A powerful subordinate appears, urging him not to involve himself in the skirmish. He recognizes the girl as Selena, a snow elf he once knew, shocked by how much her power has mutated and grown. The guild master orders the rest of the team to the peak while he stays behind to stall the powerful elf. He decides to leave the scene first, heading toward his true objective. Whoosh! Relieved to be rid of the annoying players, he is finally free to act without any restraints. He reaches the snowy summit, searching for the location of the legendary Eternal Ice House. A system notification confirms he has discovered the hidden chamber where the dungeon boss awaits. He senses a powerful presence sealed within the frozen depths. Boom! He shatters the ice with a flurry of fire spells, revealing the secret hidden within the mountain. Thump! Just as he suspected, the legendary old man Cress has been imprisoned here for years. His plan is to slay the weakened boss and use his accumulated points to seize control of the entire dungeon. Snap! The king of the Snow Mountains, level 90 Cress, finally awakens from his frozen slumber.
Bang!
He mocks the old king for his lack of progress over the years, noting the strange madness in the elf's eyes. He unleashes his own forbidden magic, preparing a blood explosion to counter the king's power. The forbidden seal activates, filling the air with a crimson glow of destructive energy. Whoosh! The chamber shatters under the weight of their clashing powers as the battle for the peak begins. Cress realizes his opponent is no ordinary player, prompting him to ask how long he has been sealed away. He ignores the king's question, treating the legendary figure with nothing but arrogance and disdain. He reveals his true identity, brandishing a sword that strikes fear into the heart of the old elf. He demands the king bow before him, asserting his dominance over the ancient ruler of the mountains. Cress is stunned, recognizing the legendary master Aldslay and wondering how he returned in such a form. He asks for the king's trust, claiming he has a final request to make of his old acquaintance. With a cold expression, he tells the king that his only path forward is to die. He promises to revive the king once the dungeon is conquered, but Cress warns that his current power isn't enough. Cress reveals a shocking truth. He is no longer the true master of this dungeon and has been replaced. He demands to know who could possibly be stronger than the king and what truly happened to the village. Cress reveals that Selena, the girl he once saved, was the one who brought ruin to their people. The horror of the truth comes to light. Selena didn't just defeat the villagers, she devoured them. He feels an overwhelming force beginning to crush his spirit, struggling to maintain his composure. A dark presence looms as she declares her intent to consume everyone present to sate her hunger. Memories of 20 years ago begin to resurface, detailing the origins of this tragedy. Back then, a group of mindless beasts roamed the mountains, hunting anything that crossed their path. He remembers slaughtering the creatures who were foolish enough to treat him as their prey. Amidst the carnage, he discovered a lone survivor hiding among the ruins. He was surprised to find a young ice elf child left all alone in the frozen wasteland. The girl looked up at him with hope, thanking her savior for rescuing her from a grim fate. Cress explained that the girl was a social outcast, a mixed blood child of an orc and an elf. The villagers feared her, warning him to stay away as she was prone to violent outbursts. Born from tragedy and raised as a slave by ogres, her life had been defined by suffering and isolation. He felt pity for the girl, believing her meeting with him was a stroke of rare luck. Since she had no identity of her own, Cress asked him to grant the child a name. He bestowed the name Selena upon her, unaware of the darkness that would eventually consume her. He asks what happened to the village in the years following his departure. Cress admits he neglected the girl's growing resentment and the abuse she suffered at the hands of the villagers. A system notification interrupts, granting him the legendary Snow Mountain Soul for his deeds. This new power grants him immense ice resistance and the ability to control a soul-bound frost blade. He remains cold, stating that whether she listens or not, he will force her to face the truth once he binds the dungeon. The guild members rush to his side, using their skills to try and contain the rampaging Selena. He tells them to flee, warning that their presence only serves as a burden in a fight of this magnitude. They refuse to abandon their leader, launching a desperate comet attack to support him. President, thanks. She mocks them, thanking the players for the meal she is about to enjoy. He screams for them to run as the girl begins her terrifying transformation. He loses his patience, demanding they obey his order to retreat before it's too late. He snaps at the dazed players, urging them to follow their president's command and save themselves. Confusion strikes as she manifests the exact same skill used by one of their fallen comrades. They realize the true horror of her power. She can steal the abilities of those she devours. He vows to stop her here, knowing that if she reaches the human world, she will become an unstoppable disaster. He pushes his lightning attributes to the limit, preparing a final strike to paralyze the devourer. He consumes a legendary potion, gaining a one-time awakening skill at the cost of his life force. He unleashes his ultimate thunderbolt, pouring every ounce of his energy into the attack. A kill notification appears, leading him to believe he has finally ended the nightmare. Wait. His joy turns to ash when he sees Selena standing completely unharmed despite the killing blow. He realizes she used a sacrificial monster to take the hit for her, rendering his ultimate move useless. Filled with hatred, she prepares to finish off the weakened guild leader. She mocks her own lineage, cursing the blood of the ogres that runs through her veins. She turns her wrath toward the protagonist, declaring that anyone who protects a monster must also die. She finds their struggle disgusting, laughing at the two outcasts who have banded together. She reveals that she learned to smile through the pain because it made her bullies lose interest. By masking her suffering with a grin, she managed to survive a childhood defined by cruelty. He tells her that a simple smile won't fix the deep-seated problems of her soul. She decides to end it all by devouring her enemies, summoning a swarm of frozen midges to consume them. He fears this is the end, hoping the association will at least recognize the danger of this place. He realizes he was set up, suspecting that Lu Yi sent him into this dungeon on purpose to die. She questions why he isn't frozen yet, curious about the source of his resilience. She laments the loss of her companion, wishing they could have been won through her devouring ability. She promises a slow and painful death, forcing him to watch as she consumes him piece by piece. The arrival of a new presence interrupts her macabre feast. He feels his body regaining movement as the freezing aura begins to dissipate. He jokes about the heat, suggesting it's time to turn on some air conditioning to break the tension. He urges his friend to run, knowing his combat ability is nowhere near enough to stop her. The friend considers sacrificing himself, believing it's a worthy price to pay for the safety of humanity. He accepts the gravity of the choice, prepared to face the ultimate sacrifice. He mocks the heroic sentiment, finding his friend's enlightenment surprisingly noble. He tells them to shut up and run, barely holding on against the overwhelming pressure. The guild leader promises to tell the world of his heroics, but the girl has no intention of letting her prey escape. He admires the bravery of his comrade for using his own body to block the incoming strike. The amulet he wears makes him immune to her ice attacks, turning him into her natural enemy. He laughs at her frustration, revealing that she was the one being tricked the entire time. She finds his madness intriguing, wondering what a person like him would taste like. He clarifies that he isn't crazy, simply relieved that the troublesome players have finally left. He claims ownership of everything in the dungeon, including the girl herself. Realizing her magic is useless, she decides to rely on raw physical power to crush him. He notes that while she is strong, her level is constantly fluctuating during the heat of battle. Sensing the massive level gap, he realizes he must use his forbidden trump card to survive. His summons offer to stall for him, urging their master to find a way to escape. She mocks his retreat, calling him a loser for running away from a fight he can't win. He criticizes her terrible personality, deciding it's time to teach her a harsh lesson in humility. He activates his undead summoning, raising a horde of zombies to overwhelm her with numbers. He tells her to scream all she wants, but there is no escape from the undead legion. He uses an element explosion to triple his next magical attack, sacrificing his ability to cast spells for a full minute. She panics as the overwhelming magic forces her back, screaming for the undead to stay away. He reveals that he has been waiting for this exact moment of vulnerability. He launches a massive, ultimate fireball to finish what the others started. The guild master is humbled by the sacrifice of a low-level player, shocked to see his friend still alive. Lu Yi arrives on the scene, claiming he rushed there out of concern for their safety. Lu Yi mocks their miserable state, revealing he barely survived his own encounter with the girl in the past. He is questioned about the fate of his own teammates, only to reveal he views them as worthless trash. He admits he miscalculated the situation, realizing he forgot a crucial detail about the monster's power. They realize she has been holding back, already possessing skills from a variety of different player classes. She unleashes a death blast, showing the true extent of her stolen magical arsenal. She reveals that she has devoured 12 players, gaining a unique skill from each one of them. Without his magic, he realizes he is no longer a match for her in a direct confrontation. She mocks his silence, eager to find out what a legendary soul like his tastes like. He declares that while he may have lost as a player, his battle as a monster is only beginning. He challenges her to try and eat him, betting that she is too terrified to actually do it. She freezes in terror as a familiar, overwhelming aura begins to radiate from him. He realizes she still remembers him, greeting her with a cold and familiar tone. He promises that although he will kill her, he intends to revive her afterward to serve him. He notices her trembling, mocking the fear that has finally taken hold of her. She claims her shaking isn't from fear, but from the excitement of finally being together. Her obsession takes a dark turn as she threatens to mutilate him so he can never leave her side. He realizes she is completely beyond reason and that words are no longer an option. He decides to end her madness once and for all with a killing blow. The guild reflects on their heavy losses, leaving the dungeon with nothing but scars and dead comrades. He senses a weak but familiar aura, recognizing the presence of his hated rival. He uses a rare Rubik's Cube item to bypass level restrictions and enter the dungeon at will. He is determined to steal the first kill reward, refusing to let Zhang Hao take the glory. Without help, he is unable to follow his rival into the dungeon's depths. Who is she? Who is it?
Aldslay.
He declares that the rewards of the dungeon will belong solely to him. The system confirms the dungeon has been cleared, but a new, greater trouble emerges in the form of a dragon master. He is given the option to bind the Peak of Crest to his soul. He is surprised by the sudden victory, realizing the rewards are far greater than he anticipated. His rival demands to know where the kill reward went, refusing to believe he was too late. He taunts his rival, revealing that he is the one who now controls the dungeon's fate. His rival is consumed by rage, unable to accept that the boss was taken from under his nose. He explains that as the new master, he is the one who makes the rules here. He triggers a dungeon restart, resetting the world around them to his whim. Confusion and panic set in as the environment begins to shift and loop. KTWHH. He insults his subordinates, demanding they use their ultimate breath attacks to stop the intruder. He scoffs at the trash who think they can actually challenge his newfound power. Dragon Flap. He laughs at their futile attempts to fight him head-on, viewing their efforts as pathetic. He activates a skill to confuse his enemies, making it impossible for them to land a precise hit. They wonder if the intruder was killed, but the lack of a notification tells a different story. He brushes off their attacks, calling them trash as he prepares to retaliate. They are horrified to see their best moves dealt 0 damage, demanding to know his true level. He reminds them of how they once looked down on him, deciding it's time to have some fun. He tells them to watch closely as he reveals the true gap between their powers. Move aside. He unleashes a paradoxical spell of freezing heat, overwhelming his enemies with dual elements. The attack lands perfectly, devastating the opposing forces. He warns Crest to stay alert, as the battle is far from over. He finds the current conquest points insufficient, craving a much greater challenge. He reveals his true level, stripping away the illusion that kept his power hidden from the world. His rival realizes he was never a player to begin with, suspecting he is actually a reincarnated demon king. He confirms the suspicion, asking if the overwhelming power feels familiar to his ancient rival. He unleashes his true form, filling the dungeon with the terrifying presence of a destroyer. His rival is shocked to see the destroyer Demon King, who was supposed to have been killed eons ago. He declares that death was only a new beginning, vowing to end their ancient feud today. She finally finds her master, feeling a sense of relief amidst the chaos. He celebrates prematurely, believing he has secured the first kill of the legendary king. The lack of a notification proves his target is still alive, much to his frustration. He is stunned that his flame of destruction was blown away so easily. He smiles, believing that fate has finally sided with him in this battle. He realizes he must stop the Demon King's heart from returning to its original body at all costs. He warns his rival that gaining his previous power won't be enough to defeat him this time. He claims to have evolved beyond his past self, reaching a new level of strength. He tells the girl to stay alive, promising to find a way to save her once the battle is won. His rival scoffs, promising to kill them both before any rescue can occur. The protagonist feels the weight of the blows, realizing his enemy has indeed become much stronger. He admits his opponent's power is impressive, but maintains that he is still the superior fighter. He decides to stop holding back, preparing to unleash his full potential to end the fight. He warns his enemy not to die too quickly, as he wants to savor the victory. Realizing the danger, his rival becomes desperate, fearing for his own life. He realizes his only option is to flee and seek reinforcements from his allies. He curses his luck, deciding he must rely on Zhang Hao's help to survive this encounter. He activates a Demon King exclusive skill, releasing a pressure that seals all enemy actions. His rival is paralyzed, unable to move or use any skills for 5 critical seconds. Demon King's exclusive skill activate. In a moment of desperation, his rival offers to cooperate against their common enemy, Zhang Hao. He ignores the plea, summoning the Soul Grim Reaper to deliver the final blow. He gains 10 million experience from the kill, instantly leveling up to 70 and unlocking advanced challenges. He is surprised by the massive experience gain, realizing the value of defeating a reincarnated player. The awakening mission is triggered, marking a significant milestone in his journey for power. He realizes his secret identity is becoming harder to hide and decides to exit the dungeon for now. He asks his subordinate about the location of his original territory. She apologizes for her fading memory but promises to lead him based on what she can recall. He orders her to follow him, strictly forbidding her from revealing his true identity to anyone. Yes, master. He instructs Selena to wait in the sealed dungeon until he returns with further orders. The association hears reports of Lu Yi entering the dungeon alone with unknown intentions. Fear spreads that Lu Yi has already been consumed by the monster lurking within. He decides to notify the association immediately to prevent further casualties. A mysterious figure suggests there is no need, implying he knows the truth about Lu Yi's fate. He uses the monster as a cover story, suggesting they seal the dungeon to hide the evidence of what happened. He insists on a foolproof plan, suggesting they consult with a trusted friend to handle the aftermath. He is mocked for his lack of control over his pet, leading to a tense confrontation. The figure offers to teach a lesson to the protagonist's subordinate. He defends his companion, stating she belongs to him and him alone. He acknowledges that the protagonist has grown much stronger since their last meeting. He challenges the protagonist to a duel, eager to test their newfound limits. An intervention stops the infighting, reminding them that they have much larger problems to deal with. They are told to get down to business and focus on the plan they all agreed upon. He confirms that everyone present shares the same goal, the death of Zhang Hao and his allies. Silence confirms their mutual pact to destroy their enemies once and for all. Trust is questioned, but he reminds them that this is their best chance for revenge. He appeals to their obsessions, urging them to take this opportunity to kill their enemies personally. They ask for the specific details of the plan to move forward. He explains that Lu Yi's death has actually accelerated their timeline, making now the perfect time to strike. With one member of the enemy group missing, their coordinated defense has been significantly weakened. The goal is to isolate the targets, as a direct fight would alert the others through energy fluctuations. He asks the Demon King for his idea on how to bypass the enemy's detection. He suggests luring them into a dungeon where their presence will be completely masked from the world. He offers himself as bait, knowing the enemy is desperate to claim his first kill reward. He reveals that several other awakened players have already joined their cause. He mentions the involvement of the Beast God and another mysterious player from a recent auction. He is asked if the girl from the Miyamoto family will help, given her history with the group. He reveals he has an informant close to their target who can provide real-time updates on his movements. They agree on their first target, setting the stage for their coordinated ambush. He and the old man agree to delay the association's investigation while the others handle the combat. The demon lord takes his leave, with the group wishing him a safe journey. He contemplates whether it's finally time to confess the truth to those close to him. He invites Xiao Xiao to the amusement park, trying to maintain a semblance of a normal life. His sister enthusiastically accepts, hoping they can all enjoy a night out together. He pulls Nana aside, telling her he has something important he can no longer keep secret. She wonders if he is finally going to express his feelings, but he is focused on a much heavier confession. He reveals his true identity as the Demon King and tells her that Zhang Hao was her father's real killer. He worries if he was too blunt, but she reveals she had already suspected the truth. She chooses to believe him, and he asks for her help in taking down their mutual enemies. She agrees to help for her father's sake, asking what the next step of the plan will be. He plans to start with Li Jiyu, intending to use a trap to wipe out his companions in one go. An antagonist watches from the shadows, eager to exploit the situation and reap the benefits of their conflict. Don't you think so? Ao Sheng. The next day, Nana joins the cause, and they receive word on Li Jiyu's exact location. He plans to use his dark territory to isolate the target so Zhang Hao remains unaware of the attack. They are confident the arrogant target will walk straight into their teleportation trap without a second thought. A new friend is introduced to the group, though her presence seems to cause some embarrassment. It's you. He mocks the group, believing he is the one who has truly exploited the situation for his own gain. He intends to lead them to their doom, planning to sit back and watch the chaos unfold. He is shocked to find that the corpse he was controlling has been hijacked by someone else. He is furious that a control bullet was used to steal his puppet and teleport him to an unknown location. A new challenger arrives, mocking the group for ganging up on a single opponent. The King of Cards explains he is only there as a favor to Miss Soon, not out of any loyalty to the others. He realizes he cannot use his monsters, as his opponent has the ability to turn the dead against him. They believe the target has no chance of survival now that so many awakened players have gathered. The target realizes he was betrayed by Wang Aoshan and mocks the group for sending 3 people to finish him. A father's rage erupts as he demands to know the whereabouts of his missing daughter. He mocks the father, stating that an obedient dog is only useful once it has been killed and resurrected. He reels from the pain, struggling to stay upright against the combined assault. Unliking to accept it right, he prepares to deliver the final blow to end his opponent's suffering. Enraged that his toy was destroyed, he vows to make his enemies pay for their interference. He calls for a fair fight, evening the odds as more combatants join the fray. The daughter's presence is revealed, but she is nothing more than a hollow puppet now. He reveals he has been collecting the bodies of missing awakened players, including the girl's father. He is excited by the prospect of adding even more powerful players to his macabre collection. An ancient rival recognizes the immortal Demon King, greeting him after years of separation. He confirms his rival's identity, realizing that Zhang Hao is also a reincarnation of an ancient power. The group is stunned to see the protagonist emerge victorious in such a brief encounter. They wonder if the enemy was truly that weak or if the protagonist has simply become too powerful. He warns them not to be careless, as the endless Demon King is notorious for his resilience. They realize he is trying to regenerate and rush to stop him before he recovers his strength. He tries to warn them, but she launches her full-power destructive bullet anyway. She realizes too late that her strongest attack might have played right into the enemy's hands. Thanks. The energy from her attack is absorbed, significantly accelerating the Demon King's regeneration process. He laughs, explaining the true meaning behind his title as the Endless Demon King. He boasts that his life is truly infinite, and no puny attack can ever truly kill him. He declares that the fear he brings to the world will never end. He activates a revenge skill, channeling the spirits of those he has killed to strike back. He forces them to feel the collective hatred of his countless victims. He scoffs, calling his previous victims weaklings who couldn't even stand up to him. He reminds his rival that there are still many others who hold a grudge against him from his past life. He mocks Zhang Hao's current weak state, finding it hard to believe this was his legendary rival. He is confused by how easily Zhang Hao was defeated, suspecting another trick. He explains that he simply grew stronger while those who died remained stagnant and weak. He decides to reach even further back into history to summon a more powerful adversary. He awakens the ancient enemies of the Demon King, pulling them from the depths of time. He summons an ancient evil god, intending to punish his rival with the very beings he once feared. The group is terrified by the god's presence, wondering what kind of monster the protagonist has become. He questions if his rival can even control such a powerful and ancient entity. His rival panics as his regeneration suddenly stops, leaving him vulnerable for the first time. He warns him not to underestimate his ancient foes, calling him a mere ant for trying to control a god. He delivers a final, crushing blow to the trash who dared to challenge him. His rival refuses to accept defeat, even as his body begins to crumble. In the chaos, she sees a final chance to strike back for her father. He scolds his rival for his heartless actions, even using his own daughter's corpse as a shield. He declares that while death is final, he will never forgive the dirty deeds committed by his enemy.